Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Oceanic Challenger Series. I'm Max Rogi for Foglia, joined by Zach Rusty Pye, and tonight we'll be bringing you the second semi-final between Legacy Genesis and Team 4Not.
Yeah, Legacy Genesis, they had a very strong first week, but Team 4Not, the only team to go 2-0 in their first week, have found themselves with the first seed in a commanding position coming into this series.
Yeah, definitely worth mentioning. Both teams highly skilled in their exact roles. We see Team 4Not a lot more team experience, where Legacy kind of a prodigy squad here.
Yeah, Team 4Not made it through the first split of the OPL, getting relegated, but they auto-qualified for this tournament to get another chance to get back into the pro scene. But you're right, you look at Legacy Genesis, a sister team essentially underneath Legacy Esports that we do see in the pro leagues right now. They're a very scary side with a lot of talent to bolster that force.
Yeah, I guess we'll be looking to see if experience as a team can outplay the raw talent of this Legacy squad.
Yeah, essentially. We'll see if the micro mechanics of Legacy can pull through a 4Not. Again, we do know they've been around for a while. They're a team of friends as well as a strong team of players, so they've always got them to back that up. And the one statistic that everyone falls back to on 4Not is they've actually beaten the Chiefs in a pro league game.
Yeah, definitely something worth to mention. But jumping into the pick and ban, we see Jace banned out immediately.
Yeah, again, Claire does play a lot of Jace. We've seen it from the OPL when he subs in for Legacy, and 2 games in the last best of 3 series from Legacy Genesis. Not a bad ban by any means, but it doesn't necessarily alleviate the rest of the team comp that they have been so avidly playing.
Yeah, exactly right. And we see Fizz going to be following up that. Such a menace in the top lane, being able to kind of rip through these tanks with his percentage health damage.
Yeah, Fizz always able to do a lot of work. We've seen Naguya in particular. He loves to play AP Fizz in that top lane and just trying to assassinate people instead of going the tanky Cinderhulk that we may be used to seeing for Fizz players. Instead, that's not going to exist, and they've continued the bans.
Yeah, it looks like they've taken out the latest League of Legends champion in Echo, so we're not going to be seeing any Echo jungle tonight.
Yeah, Echo taken off the board. Of course, another strong champion, much like the Fizz, but very niche pick. Impaired does love that Echo.
Yeah, and Alistar soon to follow. One of the most highly contested picks. When he's not banned, he's usually first pick by either team if they can get him in that first rotation.
Yeah, keeping in mind there's a lot of AD carries still up for grabs here through this drafting phase, but Alistar has been taken away. Nautilus usually the response, but there's always going to be the Thresh-Kalista combo that needs to be considered, as we have seen the next ban response.
Yeah, we see Rek'Sai going out here. Probably the Kalista to follow. It's very unwise to leave Kalista up, but Rek'Sai, such a menace in that jungle, kind of doing everything.
Than just the Kalista up, though. There's the Ezreal, there's the Ryze, there's pretty much everything you could ever want available. The Gragas as well. They don't get the first pick. Fortnite might be looking to take that away. But in saying that, with Ezreal available, it does need to be considered. We are on 5.12. The Runeglaive Ezreal is a definite real thing.
Yeah, if they don't ban this, I wouldn't be surprised to see Team Fortnite picking that one up. We see Varus, though. So Varus and Jace kind of fill this same role, but Ezreal being hovered over.
Not just hovered.
There he is, locked into no surprise. That Runeglaive Ezreal just tearing people apart.
Now, it's a very strong pick right now, but first picking it does present a lot of issues. Legacy Genesis, their mid laner Claire does love assassins. He does love in-your-face style of laning phase. In fact, every single game I think that he's played so far in the Challenger Series has resulted in a lane 1v1 style of kill.
Yeah, I'd like to see what he picks up here to combat this immediate threat. Like you mentioned, he's really into those upfront damage. We saw Keen versus TSM pulling out the Jarvan, maybe taking a leaf out of his book.
Yeah, we'll see what he does want to do, but of course with the Ezreal being that priority in the first pick, Impaired loves the Nidalee as his fallback. Runeglaive very strong on Nidalee in the jungle in this patch. They've locked it in.
Yeah, definitely worth mentioning. A great on-hit effect for these AP-style junglers and Kalista. Not surprised to see her taken by the first rotation Legacy Genesis.
No, not a surprise at all. And of course, it does leave open that Thresh or Morgana with the Kalista combo. Every possibility they could want for a very strong laning phase is going to be evident from this Genesis side. They're up against the Ezreal, but they've got the Nidalee. They've got a lot of poke to at least match Ezreal's to a degree. But it's going to be very difficult if they have a direct poke off.
And as we mentioned, with Alistar gone, the next choice for that tanky support is the Nautilus. We're seeing Moya just hover that one over for Zaldo. Wouldn't be surprised if they lock it in here.
No, it wouldn't be a surprise, of course. Tanky supports, Moya does love to play them. Oh, not Moya, sorry, Zaldo does love to play them. Moya's the one hovering it. He does play a bit of Thresh, he plays Alistar and a lot of Nautilus as well. So if he does lock that one in, would not be a surprise, but Naya's locked something in.
Yeah, we saw him play Shyvana back in the group stage.
Yeah.
In the first game versus that Sejuani, went for a little bit of invade-style play here. So, yeah, Shyvana.
Yeah, Naya actually one of the junglers, one of the only junglers, in fact, that runs Exhaust on his jungle pathing.
Okay.
We saw it with the Shyvana game in particular as well. It just gives him a lot of extra trading potential. He can invade, or if he gets invaded, it's going to be very hard to try and 1v1 him. So a very dangerous prospect when you're up against an Exhaust jungler like Naya generally does. We'll see if he wants to take that. They've locked in the Shyvana and the Nautilus, and still, that's a lot of front line. It's a lot of damage in that front line.
Yeah, once Shyvana hits that level 6, she offers so much engage potential. With the Ezreal to kind of poke people down and stand in the back line, this front line's looking strong for Fortnite. The Legacy hovering over Amundo.
We'll see if they lock that one in. We won't dwell on it too much. But yeah, very big front line. They've got a lot of poke still from this Fortnite side. They've got a lot of damage between the three members already. The Shyvana and the Ezreal are able to do so much, whilst the Nautilus facilitates, has that knock-up available, can allow the Ezreal ultimate even to connect whilst they're knocked up.
And look at that, we see Bard, the newest support, being locked in here. Such a strong champion, offering a great stun if you can hit it across two members. The ultimate, potentially game-changing.
Yeah, Bard's ultimate is very strong, and of course it does work well with Kalista. Almost the second option to the Thresh and the Kalista combo because of the extra magic damage that you get from auto attacks. Works with the Kalista passive on that W, and is just a very scary lane to be a part of if you were on the side of Fortnite. They don't have their bot lane completely set in stone just yet, only having the Nautilus available. We'll see what they look to do in response to go with the Nautilus, but of course the Civ is up. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sivir get locked in. She does so much for her team. But going back to Legacy Genesis, they have locked in that Maokai.
Right.
A very strong top laner, but potentially an ADC Ezreal, as we see Orianna just hovered over here.
Yeah, I've been rused.
Not too sure just yet, but Maokai, such an exceptional tank, has that point-and-click snare, being able to offer so much engage if he teleports behind the team.
Yeah, so I actually like Legacy Genesis have waited for mid for their last pick because the Ezreal is a flex for Fortnite. CNJ does play Ezreal. We did see it in his last best of 3 series where it was a very aggressive style of Ezreal. They had a very poke-oriented comp with that Varus mid Ezreal AD carry and just made it really hurt for their opposition. So they're not going for the smite Ezreal mid on Moya. They are just denying the Ezreal possibility from Claire, picking it as the AD carry in their first rotation and able to use it as a flex pick. They've now gone for the Malphite Orianna combo, and this is just Fortnite in a nutshell right now. The fact that they go AoE Wombo, the work as a team, and just try and get to team fighting.
Yeah, we'll see if it pays off for them here. As you mentioned, that flex pick Ezreal denying the pick from Claire. Going to be seeing him in the AD carry role. But Orianna and Malphite, that Wombo combo is amazing if they're able to pull it off.
Yeah, if they can pull off that Wombo combo, it's very scary, of course, at any stage of the game, ahead or behind. I believe we even saw that in their second victory. They were really far behind, but they managed to turn around the game with one good team fight, the Shockwave combo connecting onto multiple targets. The rest of the Fortnite side capitalizing on that so well. Moya does love Orianna, so all in all, their team comp's super safe.
And look at that, the last pick here, Cassiopeia going over to Claire. As we've mentioned, Claire, such a high mechanical player, potentially one of the best in OCE. Excited to see how he plays on this Cassiopeia.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be a very scary Cassiopeia to be up against here for Moya. And it's a very difficult lane for an Orianna to be a part of, who is going for the Ignite from the looks of it to be able to keep up with trading potential. Both of them, in fact, hovering that so far. So expect to see a lot of fireworks in the middle lane between these two. Claire does love to find solo kills. He's on that Cassiopeia. And as you said, very high mechanical skills. Claire, very much so, the young prodigy of this Legacy Genesis side. Between him and Impaired, able to carry the team super hard. And that combo they've got is a lot of damage.
Yeah, Fortnite really the wild card with that Shyvana here. Expecting her to try and do some nice invades with that exhaust on the Nidalee. Nidalee, a great early duelist, but Shyvana has so much raw damage and chase potential.
Yeah, Shyvana's just very good at clearing the jungle. Nidalee is a little bit of a flight risk. There's two ways you can take jungle Nidalee, and it's either you start with the traps or you start with the spears. One gives you health, one gives you clear time. So in saying that, we'll see what Imped wants to go for, whether he looks to stay healthy and be a little bit more respectful of the fact that they may invade him here, Fortnite's jungler, or if he's just going to go for the fast clear, get really low, play the risk of actually just clearing faster and then having a gank afterwards.
All right, so we're going to bring up a quick ladder here to have a look at the overview of this entire tournament. As you can see here, all the scores are available in yesterday's games also.
Yeah, so we saw the Krispy Kreme crew yesterday take out Alter Ego 2-1 in that best-of-3 series. And the fact that Fortnite, they made their way here with a convincing victory over Abyss 2-0 and Legacy going 2-1 against 0, sorry, Abyss was Fortnite. I just said 0 twice. They found themselves against each other today, though. Fortnite, the first seed coming into this.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they were the only team in the bracket so far to win their game 2. Or we saw 0 throw a spanner in the works with a little bit of Riven to kind of disrupt Legacy's rhythm. But going into this game, these teams both had the potential to make it into the finals, so kind of getting a glimpse of what could have been in tonight's game.
Yeah, winner of this game does go into the finals against the Krispy Kreme crew. The losers find themselves in the third place game still up against Alter Ego, so both going to have a chance, win or lose, to still make the promotion relegation tournament, have their shot at making it into the OPL. But ideally, you want to find yourself in the finals.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You want to kind of secure your spot tonight, if possible. But as you mentioned, that third place still available. Alter Ego, they put up a great fight yesterday, so no team really wants to go versing them for that third spot.
No, definitely not, of course. We'll take a look at the teams a little bit more now. We'll step back a little bit and let's just focus on the mid lane a little bit more right now. We've got Claire, the freak of mechanics right now in this mid lane. Playing on Cassiopeia suits it so well in terms of his damage output, his damage potential being on that Cassiopeia. He's up against Orianna, who is a fairly standard laner, not really a kill threat, but the fact that they're both running Ignite, there's probably going to be deaths.
Yeah, if Orianna can get that early poke available to her, kind of zone Cassiopeia with the slow, keep the shield on herself when those extended trades come out. And Orianna's auto attack scales so well with ability power. We'll see if she can really make use of that ranged auto if they get these trades underway.
Yeah, there's going to be a fair bit of auto-attack intensive trading if the Orianna is looking to actually win a trade.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're just trying to get through laning phase, of course. You look at the rest of the Fortnite side, they've got the Malphite to work with that Orianna. So you instantly look at this Fortnite team and you think of team fighting. You do not think of strong laning phases. So we'll see if they can get through the laning phase, through the pressure that Claire is going to be putting down onto Moya, and come out successfully, at least even, for a team fight.
Yeah, and Orianna has two methods of getting the shockwave off. You've got the Dragon's Descent from Shyvana, the Unstoppable Force from Maokai. Legacy are going to have to watch out for both these high-impact initiates.
Yeah, you need to respect the initiation, of course, using the Nidalee and having low mobility types of offensive characters. Of course, Cassiopeia having no mobility. The only exception, to a degree, is Callista if she's actually attacking. Will have a bit of mobility, a little bit harder to hit. But if they can connect with either of the ultimates, then it's going to be very dangerous that they have the follow-up of that shockwave to really cement a winning team fight.
It's lucky that they do have Maokai on their side for that Vengeful Maelstrom to kind of lessen the blow of the impact of these AoE ultimates.
Yeah, for sure. They've even got the Bard to help disengage or re-engage if it does miss. Of course, if Fortnite miss any of the two ultimates, it's going to be very difficult for them to find themselves winning a team fight. Flash is the summoner spell that counters every hard engage possible if you are on the trigger ready to go to dodge them. So we'll see how it actually does start to pan out. It is execution heavy from Fortnite, but then you look at Legacy Genesis and by all means is much more execution heavy.
Yeah, they're pretty much both teams are all in here. If Cassiopeia wants to get right up into the fray, she needs to walk up, use her ultimate to try and stun people. If that misses, she's going to find herself too far up.
But then you think of winning team fights, and yes, if it does miss, you're going to be too far up. You're dangerous. You're in danger to go down. But you look at the Callista as well. You've got the Bard to back that up. If the fight is prolonged for a Callista, irrespective of how the rest of the team is going, there's still the chance that the Callista can carry that fight through.
Yeah, so many threats on the side of Legacy, whereas the other team, they really have to group up and try to execute these high-impact ultimates. But saying that, we'll be jumping onto the Rift for our first game. Team Fortnite taking on Legacy Genesis. And look at this, CNJ and Moya just going to be walking out of the base here. He's got a nice skin on him, CNJ. Did expect to see that Ezreal in the mid lane, but going to be taking it in the bot, kind of breaking the meta here.
Yeah, the Ace of Spades, is it, I believe?
Yeah.
One of the better skins that people have actually been, as they are.
Here we go, Addition CNJ just getting into a little bit of a scrap in the mid lane. Neither really coming out ahead here. Got to be careful of that Callista.
Yeah, I guess the difference is you can see how deep that Edition got his ward there, and I guess CNJ relegated to placing in the middle of the lane. It's a mini victory as the spear connects.
Yeah, luckily Malphite does have that little bit of stone shield to prevent any damage really sticking. Just going to regen that one up before the creep spawn. Claire and Becky just holding their own in the river. Here we see Nautilus doing what he can to prevent any shenanigans. Both teams just planning out their early game strategies.
Yeah, fairly standard fan, sort of like a 5-point start, a little bit more grouping from Legacy Genesis, whilst the rest of Fortnite are just sitting in their respective areas, but the wards have been placed from Genesis to make up for their lack of direct vision from their champion. So essentially just going to have a very standard fan start. Maokai going to be getting those Raptors down. Malphite not able to do anything in response.
So he's not going to go for an early campy by the looks of it. He's gone for a much more sustain-heavy build with that Crystalline Flask. As you mentioned, Malphite not having the best time at soloing a camp here.
The Cassiopeia about to get the Raptors as well?
I think she's trying to. Probably going to get those little ones.
Yeah, she got all three. That's cool.
And it looks like Maokai not doing a camp either. So just going to be running to that top lane.
Yeah, so the Malphite's not able to do a camp. Maokai not necessarily needing the advantage. So giving it to Cassiopeia, the 3 CS instantly, 27 gold, is at the very least a pot advantage and experience most importantly. We'll get level 2 early.
Look at Moya, he wants to go for those early auto attack trades. Orianna just high, not base damage, but extra damage from that Clockwork wind up. And we saw in the bot lane, Addition and Becky taking the Gromp.
Yeah, just keep your eye on this lane now. Level 2 has already come out, but a big minion stack from Moya has been winning the lane at level 1. So it's actually going to be quite okay in the mid lane. Moya trading very well considering the fact that there was 3 extra CS and an experience advantage for Claire.
Yeah, just hitting that shield on the back end of Claire. Moya doing what he can to last hit. Doesn't want to get too far up because once Cassiopeia hits that Q, the speed boost, making it very hard to escape.
Yeah, for sure, but unlikely to see that just yet. As we're looking at bottom lane, there's a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, CNJ has to E out of that. Doesn't want to take too much extended damage from Addition here. Becky just doing what he can, getting the heals available. The great thing about Bard, you put your heals down, just go roam, grab your chimes, and all of a sudden you're back to full mana.
Yeah, and great work from Addition to work around harassing with last-hitting minions to make sure he refreshes some of that mana back and keep himself well and truly in this lane. Fortnite, Zaldo, and CNJ relegated to sitting back now and just letting it push in before they start last-hitting again.
Yeah, unfortunately, these guys know relegation all too well, but in the mid lane, we see Moya doing what he can to keep up the CS of Claire.
Yeah, that was a bit harsh.
I couldn't help it, you said it.
I did say it, I'll pay that. But yes, you're right, trying to keep up. But you have a look at the difference in their items already. The fact that there is still potions remaining for Moya. Claire starting to take some damage and not having potions remaining. He's essentially winning the lane. Impaired is maybe going to have an impact though and stop that.
If Nidalee can hit a nice spear, just going to be coming in on Cougar form, essentially going to get that red buff proc. The spear connects. There's a nice harass from Impaired. Moya going to have to eat up those last few potions. Actually going to recall here. Oh no, just going to eat up those potions. So Shyvana had to go back, buy herself that chilling smite. If she wants to go in for Nidalee, that's imperative if she wants to go for any invades here.
Yeah, so they've seen Nidalee on the map now. They're aware of where she could potentially be based off the time in the game as well. Knowing she has both buffs, only jungle camps available are going to be the first ones you took. So assuming she's at the Gromps, you have the advantage now with the Chilling Smite potentially to invade somewhere. Fortnite do have the driver's seat essentially in the back of Naya to try and make something happen. Doesn't look like he wants to just yet though, power farming Shyvana.
Yeah, look how well Impaired's gank paid off in the CS advantage coming out of Claire. We saw Moya, he had the potion advantage. He was doing well to stay in this lane. But once Impaired made his mark there, Claire was just able to run with it.
Yeah, very smart gank from Impaired in particular. The fact that he just walked in with the auto attack, made sure the red buff connect to hit the spear.
Addition might be in trouble. He's going to have to flash. The exhaust goes down, but Becky might be the target here, trying to get the magical journey out. But look at CNJ. He's taken it. Does he want to go for something? Oh, Addition. He baits the heal out. The teleport coming in from Pac-Man. Is he going to get there in time? I think he will. No, the Twisted Advance not going to hit anyone. Will the teleport get cancelled from Naguya? And it does.
Yeah, he's at the very least here to prevent the minions from going to waste. They're going to get some of that, but the wasted teleport, they're not going to actually get anything directly from it. A very smart gank timing. As mentioned, Shyvana finding the opportunity to get in there. Bard goes down, and the magical journey taken by CNJ to basically force the heal out of Addition to keep himself in safety.
Oh, look at Claire just standing in between those minions, denying so much from Moya, basically using his health as a resource here to just deny the gold.
Yeah, eventually, once that passive starts to kick in at 90 of the Serpent stacks, we'll have a little bit more sustain with the Twin Fangs. Of course, never going to run out of mana from the innate sustain of that Twin Fangs already. In a comfortable position with that tier is Cassiopeia.
Yeah, smartly picking herself up that as early as she can. We saw Nidalee just preventing Malphite in the top lane from doing too much damage to that tower, just picking up any stray CS as Pac-Man had teleported to the bot. The Bard getting killed first by very early on, but he's got a lot of upfront damage if you can stay at range, but Nautilus so good at closing that gap.
Yeah, of course. You can see Nautilus was very good at initiating that. CNJ is just very good at working around initiation, being on that Ezreal. And they do make it happen. Of course, the teleport being wasted, Naguya able to use his just to get back to the lane with that Chalice. Is going to be quite content with farming in the lane now. Has closed the CS gap, I guess, because of that fact. So, all in all, nothing actually coming from the teleport that was essentially wasted.
Well, Malphite did use his and cancelled it, so both not getting any advantage out of it.
Oh, he did too, right.
Yeah, look at Claire going all in here. Moya getting taken really low. Has to use that shockwave defensively, but Claire, if that ultimate had hit, we could be saying a different story here. But Zoldo, he might be caught out of position, but he has Naya to back him up. The flash on Addition. No summoners available just yet. The magical journey is going to get them to safety. Are they following through?
No.
CNJ and Naya, they're going for the tower dive, but here's Nidalee. She's right there, but she's very low. Naya is going to go down, giving the kill over to Becky Gomez.
Why would you follow the journey?
Oh no, it's not over yet as we see Cassiopeia. Oh, the double stun out of Becky. A nice engage from Impaired. That's going to be a double kill going over to Impaired.
And even Claire made his way down to ensure they were going to die on the back of following Bard's magical journey, the standard bait. The one thing you should never go through. A very smart disengage tool from Legacy Genesis, but it actually backfires completely for Fortnite. And they find themselves dying off what was very good damage placed onto this Genesis lineup. A big mistake.
Impaired going to go back with a nice pocket full of gold. Buy himself that early Rune Glaive. Just going to allow him to clear the jungle a lot safer. And Becky Gomez also picking himself up one. That was messy, Rusty.
Why would you follow the journey, man?
Could have been a misclick. That thing has a pretty
There's
wide
no
range.
way two people simultaneously misclicked in a Challenger Series game. It was just a mistake.
Yep.
And it happens, you know. Fair enough, the magical journey baits the best of us at times.
Yeah, just think if Nidalee wasn't there, that could have potentially been fine. Naguya and Pac-Man not having teleport to do anything about that. Bit of a silly engage. We see them just farming up what they can in the top lane. Advantage to Pac-Man so far.
Yeah, he's been quite comfortable in this lane. Maokai having a little bit more sustain. Doesn't need the overshield because the passive just gives health back in response. And you can consistently keep the Malphite shield down if he's looking to last hit minions. You can see the Chalice, the first buy here from Naguya in that top lane. It was a Mikhail's for him last time we saw that one, in fact. So we'll see what he does want to go. And there's a very tanky but defensive base team comp from Fortnite. They've got shields everywhere, mobility everywhere, and then even just the Mikhail's on a Malphite.
Yeah, looking at the side of Legacy, we see that Impaired has picked himself up a tier, so Cassiopeia and Nidalee going to be trying to stack those up during this mid-game trough. But so much gold on that Nidalee after the double kill, I doubt it will really impact her.
Yeah, you say mid-game trough, but right now it's just the clock ticking of Fortnite's chance to get in this game. The door slowly closing in their possibilities. Naya trying to make something happen.
Yeah, he really wants to get a good Dragon's Descent onto Claire. Impaired is waiting at the Raptors, so will be there to answer. Naya not going to get anything. He is going to get the last Raptor for himself, so he'll chalk that up to a little bit of a win.
9 gold, definitely worth the attempted gank. Maybe even a bit of Impaired for his troubles.
Yeah, he does have that extra movement speed in the brush, but here comes the chilling smite. Impaired, he's already going to have to use his flash to get out of this one, so Naya, the invade paying off in the end.
Naya not looking to waste his ultimate as the...
Good damage onto Impaired. He does have that heal, and combined with their tier, going to have a good mana pool to just sustain himself up. We might see Naya go for a gank in the top lane, but Naguya going to be saying no thank you.
It's hit that point where you're expecting the Ezreal ultimate to be a Runeglaive version of damage. It wasn't enough to actually get the kill, but Red Buff almost found himself one as well.
I wonder if the assist gold would have gone over. Probably not, as it was too long. But this bot lane, everyone hitting level 6. Nautilus is so strong once he hits that level 6. The unavoidable knock-up.
Yeah, the unavoidable knock-up. As you mentioned, that depth charge able to at least cement the positioning of one person to find the Ezreal ultimate to connect, to find all of the skill shots, even the Orianna Shockwave, the Malphite, all able to combo very well now. He has that available. In laning phase directly, though, there is no real positive impact of having that when you look at a Bard Nikalista.
Yeah, he's just going to have to use that to disengage any aggression coming out of Fortnite. Moya doing what he can in this mid lane. Claire, though, being a little bit aggressive, trying to keep his eyes on Naya, not allow him to free farm, which is what Shyvana wants to do.
Yeah, Claire trying to make things happen, showing his aggression, just putting wards down very deep. But it's not going to last too long, of course. The pressure he's placing is only temporary in that he's got an Orianna starting to ramp up in strength. And Morello's not quite there.
Oh, here we go. Claire in a lot of trouble. Going to have to flash out of this one. It is available, but choosing not to use it. Naya picks himself up that one.
Yeah, so the ultimate not actually able to connect on both targets. He could have maybe flashed ultimate, but it was a little bit risky. He resigns himself to not using any summoner spells and just going down. The ultimate used by both Moya and Naya, who has that exhaust still available.
Oh, Impaired wants to take the fight. Unfortunately, missing the spear, but it might not matter. So much damage coming out from the early Nidalee aggression. The red buff is there. Does the spear hit? No. Moya going to have to flash away.
Yeah, but the fact he had to flash that spear, they find themselves a bit of farm onto Nidalee for their troubles, of course. Claire not able to make anything out of that, just dying all in all. They still find themselves a 0-for-1 trade in favor of Fortnite.
Addition just getting some nice poke with that Q in the bot lane. Zaldo just walking around, trying to look for engage. You want to play this Nautilus a little bit kind of unpredictable. You don't want to kind of resign yourself to not being aggressive.
Definitely, you want to be unpredictable, but against the Bard Nikalista, no matter how predictable or not you are, the trades will generally favor those two. They can just outright beat you in an instant trade because the Ezreal's damage is quite low unless spells connect. And then in a prolonged trade, they've got the Ren stacks to double it up even further. So this 2v2 directly in favor of Legacy Genesis, not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I wonder if picking this Ezreal really benefited them that much more as a deny tool than going for that Runeglaive.
Of course, it is to take it away from Claire, not give him a possibility of playing such a strong pick. They do put themselves in a position where they have to have the Ezreal. Moya not opting to play that one though.
Oh, looks like Claire, he has been slowed by the Chilling Smite. No available for Naya just yet. Claire is almost off cooldown. Both summoners available. Moya does have the Shockwave also.
Yeah, both ultimates are about to be up again for Shyvana and Orianna. So the kill threat well and truly still available in the mid lane. The flash though from Claire is going to remain available for future use if they find themselves coming back.
Yeah, everyone on this Legacy Genesis squad running away with the CS here. Every lane ahead except for the supports, but not even worth mentioning.
No, I guess it's still ahead really if
yep.
you can count the AD carries CS. So you count them as two members, still doing quite well in that bottom lane. You can see the top lane CS, though, Naguya having a very difficult time. Got his Sork shoes available, probably working towards an Abyssal Scepter if I had to guess. And, I mean, Pac-Man just able to use his base damages, his base sustain, push his way ahead in this lane.
Yeah, it is smart to get a lot of magic resistance against the kind of double AP comp if you include Nidalee. Yeah, that Maokai not being able to do a lot of damage if this resistance come out early.
Yeah, so it's something that he has definitely recognized that he's working towards. Here's a teleport.
Here comes a teleport. Naya and Zaldo in a lot of trouble. Zaldo, he did have to flash to get a little bit of distance. The Orianna is there. Will the Shockwave connect? There it is, hitting 3 members. The Dragon's Descent going in. Claire, he's trying to do what he can, but he has been exhausted. CNJ, he's focusing Addition down, changes attention to Claire. Looks like Maokai might die here. He's super low, but Addition, he has gone in back in. Oh, that's a double kill for Malphite. Addition sure to fall. Claire, he's still alive, doing what he can, but Moya, he's going to pick that one up with the auto attack. And that's a triple kill and an ace for Fortnite.
So they ace Legacy Genesis and they just get completely womboed. It's the team fight that Fortnite are looking for. They find it. The unstoppable force, the Shockwave connecting on the back of them, engaging onto a Shyvana, essentially, of all people. She can just use that ultimate and try and sustain herself for as long as possible. They make a trade out of it, Legacy Genesis. They don't go overcommitted. I guess they got ace, so they did kind of overcommit. But they still found something for their troubles. It could have gone a lot worse considering how it started. But the Nidalee jumping directly in when they saw the Orianna ball standing underneath them. They knew the Shockwave was available. A big forethought here. And it's now an afterthought.
We've got to remember that Legacy Genesis, they wanted that fight. We saw the Bard ultimate and the teleport coming out from Pac-Man and Becky first. So they are going to get themselves the Dragon as a consolation prize, but a lot of extra gold going over to Fortnite.
Yeah, so you can see the Orianna ball already down in position, and then they just commit. The Nautilus hitting the ultimate combo, Shyvana, and then Naguya all at the same time, just completely wrecking everyone in that set area. You can see Addition and Claire going super ham to find themselves CNJ. But the Malphite on a double kill gets himself a triple on the back of this with another auto attack and saving Moya essentially with that dangerous game on his Masters.
Well, in that replay, Legacy did pick themselves up that Dragon, so they do have the Dragon advantage. No towers to be taken just yet. The gold lead still in favor of Legacy Genesis.
Yeah, so they are still ahead after a very big hiccup, and you can see again the strength of this Fortnite comp. We said it at the start of the game. They have a very good team fighting based composition. They've always been a very strong team fighting based team. Ever since the first split of the OPL, that is what they would play, the Amumus, the Oriannas, and just try and destroy everyone after about 20 minutes if they haven't gone too far behind, essentially. But now it's 16 minutes.
Oh, look at this. Nagoya going into Pac-Man. He wants to save that turret. Also, a lot of damage coming down. That ultimate doing very well.
Yeah, it actually did a fair bit of damage right there. You can see the Abyssal Scepter completed. And even more so, the double Dorans with the Chalice. So there's no way he's going to run out of mana in this lane. Can afford to use the ultimate just to try and push him off the turret and save the global gold from going down, but Impaired's here.
He wants to gank. He has the red buff. Naya is very close by. He's going to be making his way up, but back in the top lane, Naguya, he's getting taken so low with no ultimate available. There comes the Dragon's Descent, not hitting anyone, but Impaired, he might be in a little bit of trouble here. The Exhaust is not available. The Chilling Smite not available either, so Impaired, he's just going to jump away. They've turned their attention to Pac-Man. Here comes Moya. Does the Shockwave be available? It is. Is he going to use it? Not just yet. He might use it now. Hitting 2 members. Impaired might go down. Pac-Man to follow, and that's a double kill for Moya.
Moya, very nice rotation, made his way to the top lane to help the rest of his team. Of course, having the Shyvana ultimate there used in the beginning of the fight to put down some damage. Malphite not even having his available, and they still find themselves being able to bait the Nidalee into going in and try and direct some focus back towards himself. The ultimate connects. This Orianna 3-0 and 5 now, and there was no way for Claire to rotate. He was going bottom to put pressure down.
It looks like we see the True Shot Barrage coming up to the mid lane to try and save that turret. It's not going to happen, so Legacy Genesis pick themselves up 2 towers on the back of that lost trade.
It's just funny because they're still so far ahead in gold from getting objectives, getting turrets, and just having a lot of extra farm. The team play of this Fortnite side has been so evident in this game. They're ahead in kills, 302 Malphite, 305 Orianna. The Ezreal not exactly doing anything just yet because he cannot. He's been stuck in a losing lane right now, and he now needs to start ramping up before he can have a big impact. Has that one big item now though. And if Legacy Genesis can't start turning team fights around in their favor, this gold lead will become a lot less.
Yeah, we've seen Moya just doing work, a part of nearly every single kills. His shockwaves have been kind of the defining factor in these team fights. We saw on that top lane, saving it for the perfect moment when Nidalee got back in range impaired. He's playing that AP-style jungler, so he's not very tanky. Got taken down immediately, didn't have his Archangel staff for the extra ability power on those heals. Looks like Naguya is going to lose his tower in the top lane, though.
Probably should ultimate again to save it. Unfortunately, does not use that ultimate. The tower eventually does go down. You can see the 30 CS advantage for Pac-Man just from Raw staying in lane and farming has now just come to fruition. They get the advantage in terms of turrets 3-1. They've found themselves roughly 2,000 gold ahead. And given the last two team fights, the fact that they're still so far ahead in gold is the saving grace of the mechanical play of these players.
Yeah, look at Addition backing off the second he sees Orianna transitioning from that mid lane. Doesn't want to overstay his welcome despite having a massive item advantage over CNJ. Oh, look like everyone kind of poising in this bot lane. We see the Bard and the Cassiopeia just waiting in that tri-bush to see if Zaldo and CNJ get over aggressive.
Yeah, we'll see if they continue to push. You can see the Focus has put the pink down, but he's going to lose his pick instantly, and they're going to have to reward that before they even consider going anywhere. But Genesis smartly back.
Yeah, Dragon in a minute 40, so Legacy, they want to try and make a play early. Looks like Becky just trying to get his wards out, but Naya going to clear that out with a nice Dragon Bite.
Yeah, they've got the pink in defensive areas now, working around those pinks to try and get some vision back. But with a minute and 30 till the Dragon is up, they've got plenty of time to try and find some vision.
Yeah, Noya looking like a bit of a fiddlesticks there, just kind of waiting off in the Raptors. Wants to go for that ultimate over the wall. Addition being able to clear an entire minion wave with 1 Q.
Yeah, working towards that Hurricane. He's not too far away now. I would imagine he's getting very close to actually having that one, as he is 2-1-4 himself, doing a lot of damage for this team. And most importantly, at the 20-minute mark, the Nidalee has completed the Seraphs.
Wow, that is insane. She's going to have that extra survivability, which is so crucial on these AP-style junglers.
Yeah, and even more so if the Cassiopeia can start to ramp up and get a Seraphs of her own. The utility that it provides them in terms of cost efficiency is just through the roof. And essentially, as you can see, it isn't finished now. The team fighting capabilities of this Legacy Genesis side has just skyrocketed. They've both gone for Negatron Cloaks. You can see a Spectre's Cowl as well for the Maokai. They're stacking the magic resistance, and smartly so, because this Ezreal is not doing damage. He's going for a Frozen Fist after that Manamune. Is not going to have an impact compared to the Orianna and the Malphite. Yeah,
and now that Addition has finished his next item, it's going to be so hard for them to win this coming up team fight. Everyone in Legacy hitting their power spikes so, well, not so early, but about time. They're going to be, it's up to Fortnite to try and use their massive team fight prowess to win these upcoming fights.
Yeah, but look to Fortnite, of course, around this Dragon to have the ideal team fight that they always look for. They're just so good at team fighting and coordinating their AoE ultimates, making sure they connect at the right time. And with the Dragon up now, it's going to be their focus.
Yeah, they've brung everyone down early. We see Pac-Man in the top lane, just doing what he can to push it up before using the teleport. They've started the Dragon down to about 3k health. Nidalee trying to get her spears off in the background of this Becky, doing what he can. Here comes the Tempered Fate, getting 4 members and the Dragon. The Ezreal coming out. That is going to be the Dragon over to Fortnite. Pac-Man has teleported in. There's the Unstoppable Force onto Claire. The Shockwave hitting Claire after the flash. Pac-Man trying to do what he can to protect his carries. The massive Unstoppable Force. A double kill over to Kalista. Can she make it a triple? She's gone for Moya. Moya doing what he can with those auto attacks. A shutdown goes over to impaired CNJ. He's in a lot of trouble. That's going to be the ace going over to Legacy.
They find the team fight. Bard being able to start it all with that ultimate. A fantastic Tempered Fate to cement their position in the Dragon Pit. Take them too long to put that Dragon down to 0 health. And now they're looking to maybe go straight for the Baron.
Oh, they can do it. Nagaya, he does have his teleport available, but no great wards in the immediate vicinity. They have the Kalista. She is going to be able to rend this from a lot of HP. Yes, no vision as we see. Pac-Man using his ultimate to just keep his team members healthier so they can retreat after this, and they're going to get it.
One of the easiest Baron teams in the world between a Cassiopeia and a Kalista. We're going to see this fight again. And the Wombo's just not entirely there, mostly onto Claire from this Fortnite side. He has the Seraph's Embrace to get him through, as Addition is just sitting in the background, getting an instant double kill. Flashes the Ori ball, by the way, to save his life. And then Impaired just comes through, throws the spears, has that Runeglaive, and with only Zelda remaining, Legacy Genesis win a team fight on the back of a poor execution from Fortnite.
Yeah, they didn't get the chance to team up their ultimates, just kind of using them all onto Claire. And as you mentioned, the shield from that Seraph's Embrace was huge, potentially changing the outcome of that fight.
And as mentioned just prior to the fight, one of the bigger factors as to how they know they can win around that dragon. They do not get the dragon all in all, but they win the team fight. They get the Baron off the back of it. And now we'll see if they can make something happen from this Baron buff.
Yeah, we're used to seeing teams get around 2 to 3 turrets once they have the buff. But look at that,
wow.
CNJ, he might be in trouble. And Impaired just deletes him off the map.
Completely destroyed right there, as there was no way for him to react. Did not have any summoner available to save his life. And that spear from the brush, or from the darkness rather, just finds an easy pickup.
Yeah, the Fog of War really playing in the advantage of Impaired. He's picked himself up that needlessly large rod, and the damage spike is so huge. We saw just from that Runeglaive proc and a takedown, being able to take down Ezreal.
Yeah, now they've got themselves a free kill. 5 seconds on CNJ, and the numbers of working around multiple turrets at the same time. Addition looking to put some pain down, because meanwhile, top and mid still have members available and visible. He knows he can do this.
Yeah, look at Impaired in Addition just doing what they can. The spear duos chucking them out off cooldown. They're going to get that turret completely uncontested. Claire and Becky in the mid lane going to find one for themselves, so it's up to Pac-Man to get himself a tower also.
Yeah, so essentially finding themselves very easy objectives just from the numbers game. Pac-Man not able to do anything himself as he's taking an abundance of damage. The Frozen Fist is completed here, the Iceborne Gauntlet done. Can they make something work with it though when it doesn't really provide damage, and the magic resistance stack is very real?
Yeah, it seems like a weird thing to go for when your team's all about going in. It seems like more of a kite item to buy.
Well, even further onto that is the fact that the team has no physical damage besides the Ezreal, so opting into what is a non-damage item, maybe looking for a Trinity Force instead would have been the better solution to give them that physical damage that they need.
All right, let's see if their Frozen Fist can keep his opponents at bay in the upcoming fights, but like we saw in the last one, Claire being the focus, they might have to change it up, maybe go for Addition. Once he was left uncontested, he got himself an instant double kill.
Well, I mean, at this stage, Impaired is doing far more work than Claire in terms of items, as well as Zonya's completed for Impaired. And you look at Claire, he's got nothing compared. Working towards one now himself, I believe, is finally starting to ramp up. But you're right, they don't need to focus Claire, although he is still a big focal point. They've got Addition and they've got Impaired, who are just, there's so many threats on this Genesis side. Who do you directly focus with Wombo? It's going to come down to if Legacy make a mistake in positioning and find themselves susceptible to getting hit by multiple spells of this Fortnite combo, or if Fortnite can connect an ideal team fight where someone instantly dies and makes it a 4v5.
Yeah, we see all the cooldowns being up for both teams. Every single ultimate, a few flashes here and there not available, but we see Legacy just doing what they can to push up this bottom wave. They really want to get it stacked.
Yeah, they're working around their minion control, the wave control, making sure all 3 lanes are pushing. You can see their vision has pushed forwards. They've got control of the entire jungle of Fortnite. Only 2 wards visible on the map from this Fortnite side. Genesis have complete control with or without that Baron buff, and it's now them in the driver's position. It's their game to lose.
Yeah, we saw what Impaired can do with one good spear onto CNJ, and look at that, Zaldo. 2 spears taking him down to half HP. Pac-Man going to pick himself up a turret for his trouble. Becky just waiting in case the engage comes to cancel it.
Yeah, and this is the thing, the vision that they've got on the map, allowing them to make clever map movements like this, as Becky magically journeys his way through walls to help Pac-Man move around the map quicker.
I love that champion. So much fun. CNJ just trying to do what he can to keep his turret from going down to Addition. But every lane is under pressure here. Fortnite, they want to fight as a team, but Legacy aren't going to let them.
They're bleeding them out, essentially giving them nothing. Not a chance, and they are going to look for the team fight. Fortnite have now recognized what they need to do, and that is just kill people. They cannot sit in the base and just let Legacy Genesis give it to them. They do need to find that big Wombo that they know they have. They've got a 3-1-2 Malphite, a 3-1-5 Orianna. They're doing a lot of damage. They just cannot let themselves get starved out any further. It's already 12,000.
Oh, look at this. They're moving up into that mid lane as 5, trying to get some damage on this tower, thinking that Legacy will prioritize the dragon, but Fornot rotating down there. Pac-Man, he's in a great position, though.
They just want to fight. They want to force an objective, whether it's the mid turret and more ideally the dragon, to get Genesis away from that safety point so that they can use that engage that they have. They've got the Shyvana, they've got the Malphite, Ezreal to poke them and keep them slowed down, Orianna to follow the rest of the engage, and then the Nautilus to boot. They've got the makings of the team fight, but you can see the flanks from Genesis making this difficult.
Oh, Impaired is in great position. Here comes a Tempered Fate hitting one member. Pac-Man, he's on Noya. Noya, he hasn't used his ultimate just yet. Pac-Man doing what he can. Impaired just on the wings, hitting spear after spear. There's a True Shot barrage. There's the Wombo hitting 3 members. Kalista goes down to Noya. It looks like everyone's dying here. Pac-Man doing what he can. Impaired, he's still full health. So much mana. Moya, he has not an ultimate available. Impaired, he does have that zone use, as we mentioned earlier. He's going to get himself another kill. Can he finish off Moya? He does, and that's a double kill, sorry, going over to Impaired.
So well played from Impaired, using that zone use and saving it for as long as possible before actually using it to ensure the rest of the side, Becky and Claire, can get behind him and help them try and win that team fight. They secure the dragon, of course, only the 3rd one. Not a big deal, but again, Fornot trying to make the fight happen. And they were really close to getting a successful fight. But the goal difference being 12,000 before that even started is just making it so much harder for them to win a team fight. They needed to do that so much sooner.
Yeah, Pac-Man and Impaired both doing so much damage to these inhibitor turrets. As you mentioned, that 3rd dragon stack. And the fight looked to be in favor of Fornot once they killed Addition straight away, but Maokai picking himself up a double kill.
Yes, as you said, Addition does go down fairly early once they turn this engage on. You can see the Malphite and the Orianna turn their combo on right now and hit it onto so many important members. Claire having that Seraph's the saving grace, but as they go in, Impaired, Pac-Man, they just do so much damage. Even the Maokai turning it on. He does a lot of damage. Impaired, a very smart zone. It gives him enough time, find a kill, get the dangerous game reset, and then use his heal, and only barely lives by the skin of his teeth, and they win that dragon fight.
Yeah, that was huge going into that. Legacy Genesis just doing what they can now. It looks like Fortnite have once again all opted to stack up in this middle lane. They really want this tower.
They have no other option. This is their only option. They need to team fight. It's what their comp is designed to do. It's exactly what they're doing right now, is they're forcing objectives.
Yeah, Addition's not there, so Pac-Man, this is going to be a 4v5. He's going to try and get out of this one. The Arcane Barrage does miss. Looks like there's the ultimate. Claire hitting 3 members with that shockwave. Oh, but a nice Tempered Fate, delaying the inevitable. The fight coming out. Looks like Claire has fallen. Pac-Man soon to follow if they can get onto him. He's going to be getting away, and there's the Wheel of Cheese finishing him off. Impaired doing what he can to get the takedown. He gets it. A nice stun. Looks like Kalista in the bot lane going to be getting that inhib any minute now. The tower defense does survive. Zaldo eats a spear on the back. Oh, CNG, he has been stunned. Can the... Oh, it does connect. Oh no, the swipe not going to be enough, and Moya, he's turned it back. Becky, he's going to have to run through the magical journey, leaves his turret to die, but Addition, he's going for Nexus towers.
They're taking too long to get a single turret here as Naguya finally makes it back, but the inhibitor is down. You cannot touch this Kalista, and essentially the Genesis lineup's job just then was to delay as long as possible. If they die, it doesn't matter. As long as they don't get aced, it was going to be okay. You can see Bard surviving till the very end. Impaired just poking around in the edges until it was required of him to try and find kills. He makes a big mistake and does die, but nothing going to be lost from it. Potentially the Baron, which looks to be the force from Fortnite.
Oh, well, that mid-inner did go down to the minions in the later stages of that fight. We see Fortnite, they've got themselves poised around this Baron. Shyvana finally has some health stats.
So I guess the cool part about what Fortnite are doing right now is they do know what their team comp is designed to do, and they're not doing anything other than what their team comp is designed to do. They're an experienced side, and you can see that from their decision making. They've found themselves so far behind in gold, but it hasn't increased anymore, and they're still very close in these fights. They're getting kills where it's required of them. They're delaying the game. It's just the split pushing and the poke that is being used by Legacy is just so tactically in their favor that there is no direct answer. The team fighting is starting to be outmaneuvered.
Yeah, Impaired's position has been amazing in these last few fights. We've seen Nagoya, he has gone back to that top lane to just stop the minions from pushing. He needs to be the one to do that. This is the only one with teleport. The other 4 just doing what you said, like they're working around what their team does best, and that is team fights. So they position themselves as 4 in the mid lane, leaving Nagoya. He's taking a lot of damage from these minions,
he's
though.
not having a great time, and he's not going to be able to teleport, and his wave clear is quite bad because he has gone for magic resistance first and foremost before going for that rando, and so only now getting some armor, putting down some extra, I guess, bonus damage with that armor increase, but his wave clear is lacking against the super minions. Being a tank, not doing damage. He's got himself a Mikhail's Crucible, as mentioned earlier. Again, it's just never ceases to confuse me, but he does have that one available. And, I mean, the Fortnite side is starting to get stronger. They've got the Void Staff now. You can see the Muramana completed. The Locket is there. Their team fight, again, is definitely still worth noting.
Well, Zaldo might be in a little bit of trouble, but he turns it around on the Pac-Man. The Vengeful Maelstrom has been proc, but here comes Nagoya. He is teleporting in the backline. He doesn't have the home guards on. About half mana. Can he make a play here? No. Claire, he is on the right side, but yeah, look at Addition. He wants to push this. He's got that Runar's Hurricane, making it easy. Claire, he's being a little bit dangerous here. He wants to go something. No
really
wards.
Cute.
Oh, 2 members going to walk straight into him. Does he go for the ultimate? No. There he goes. It hits him on the back, though. Not going to be stunning them up. Nagoya gets taken to about half HP. The Tempered Fate coming in, not hitting anyone. They're making their way to this bot, but they lose the inhibitor. Addition. Is he going to be able to get out of this alive? It looks like his team is there to back him up. He does have the Guardian's, not the Guardian Angel, sorry, the Banshee's Veil. The fight has erupted. Addition. He survived for so long. Wasn't long enough. Nagoya in the backline. Pac-Man doing what he can to keep CNJ and Moya out of the fight. Nidalee, she takes down Shyvana. Nagai and Moya, they're so low. One stun from Bard will all it take. Oh, they're going to get Moya. They're going to get Maokai. They're going to go in and they're going to try to finish this game.
Yeah, you do have to commend Fortnite again. The fact that they're playing their team comp to what is required of them, but it's just not enough to have an answer to this Legacy Genesis side as they do finally surrender before the Nexus can fall. They don't give them the satisfaction of the 50 extra gold.
Yeah, they did a great job trying to not bleed out, as you mentioned, against Legacy. We saw that in the mid game. They were pushing all 3 lanes simultaneously with that Baron's buff, and then Fortnite just thought, we can't lose this way. If we're going to lose, we're going to do it on our terms. They did a nice 5-stack in the mid, got a nice few team fights, but the gold discrepancy was just too much for them to handle.
Yeah, Fortnite, what they were designed to do, of course, was to team fight, but Legacy Genesis playing super smart around those team fights. They get the top inhibitor, they get the bottom inhibitor, all whilst Fortnite are trying to utilize their team comp and make it happen. But superior wave control, superior vision control, and superior decision making has found this Legacy Genesis side with a 1-0 start.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, they are up 1-0. We'll see if Team Fortnite can bring it back after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Oceanic Challenger Series. I'm Max Rogi for Foglia, joined by Zach Rusty Pie. And in a minute, we'll be jumping into Game 2 of Legacy Genesis versus Team Fortnite.
Yeah, and a very convincing first game victory here from Legacy Genesis. Didn't really look like losing at any stage besides that one big hiccup.
Yeah.
But again, Fortnite, they did play well. They played to their strengths as a team. They do know that they have what it takes to take out a second game. The question is if they can do that, or if Legacy Genesis, who just look unstoppable right now, can continue that rampage.
Yeah, we saw the experience as a team coming through in those later stages of the game where they identified their win conditions and tried their best to play off it. But as you mentioned, Legacy Genesis, so strong and with such a huge gold lead, were able to finish it out in the end.
Yeah, it just looked like superior decision-making. A team that is really strong in terms of micro capabilities. They've got Claire in the mid lane, Impaired in the jungle, both known as prodigies essentially at the game, who have now joined their own team together, are doing super well. You questioned how they were going to go in terms of their macro skill levels, whether they can move around the map well as a team and not just be that really strong mechanical players. But again, they looked commanding in that game in terms of their wave control on the sideways, their vision control around objectives, and they bled out Fortnite before they could find themselves a victory.
All right, well, jumping into the pick and bans here, we see Rek'Sai and Fizz banned right away. Worth noting that Fortnite and Legacy are on the same side, so Fortnite going to have that first pick available to them.
Yeah, so the Ezreal is still going to be available. The question is, do they want to ban it this time because they're not looking to first pick it as a mid laner, or do they pick it again as an AD carry and essentially throw a Kalista into the opposition team?
Well, the same bans here. We see Echo and Alistar banned once again. Alistar, such a great champion. Not surprised to see him banned again if these teams are playing in a best of 3.
Yeah, and we're looking at 2 jungle bans here from the Fortnite side against what is targeted bans and then a very strong Alistar from the side of Legacy Genesis. So whilst they are strong champions, the Echo and the Fizz in particular are quite target-based. There's still a lot left available. The Rise is always going to be there. The Kalista, again, we saw Addition do a lot of work on that in the last one, and that one.
Yeah, there it is. They first picked the Ezreal last game. Didn't work out for them, as for some reason they didn't opt to take it in the mid lane and put him on the AD carry. Didn't work out for them. They don't want to play against it, obviously, and they're just going to use a ban on it.
Yeah, looking to use it more as like a flex pick, essentially. They just knew the Ezreal can go mid lane, but they wanted that Orianna instead. CNJ plays a lot of Ezreal, so they did pick that one up for him instead. Didn't work out, and instead of having to pick it again, they don't want to be stuck bottlenecked into a particular team comp like they were last game. They want to leave it open. The availability for anything that they want to play is now there, and they're denying the Ezreal for the side of Genesis.
Well, speaking of denying, looks like Genesis, they do not want to go up against that Shyvana again. Taking it away from Naya must have been a little bit of a scary threat then.
Yeah, weirdly enough, it felt like the Shyvana had more of an impact in the direct team fights than the Malphite-Orianna combo because she was setting them all up by keeping them locked in place. It also takes away the Shyvana and allows what is potentially a first pick here from Fortnite.
Yeah, hovering over that nearly Impaired. He did so much on it that last game. He was able to start open these fights just by getting a few key spears onto the right members, and we saw him taking out CNJ in a uncontestable 1v1.
Yeah, funnily enough, Moya is actually known in all of these players in the team as the Nidalee player.
Okay.
So if we do see this locked in, there is a chance that it may be the mid Nidalee, and it could be flex picked again, opposed to just exclusively a jungle Nidalee option.
Yeah, well, with 3 seconds left to go, we'll be seeing if it's a locked in here, and there we go. And like you mentioned, Moya, he is known for his Nidalee play, but is it wise to take away such a potent jungler just for some comfort?
Well, it definitely feels like Legacy Genesis have these set champions they want to play, but Fortnite are using this drafting phase as an opportunity to try and make them uncomfortable and just get rid of some of their strongest champions, play it themselves. Not to say that these aren't strong champions for Fortnite. We saw success with the Ezreal. We have seen a lot of success with this Nidalee on Moya. We haven't really seen it on Naya, though.
No, not just yet, but going over to the picks here from Legacy, they picked themselves up 2 amazing champions. Nautilus, we saw Zaldo doing work on that last game, but it's going to be in the hands of Becky today.
Yeah, so we're looking at another Kalista 4 edition, which is scary in its own right. He was very strong in that last game and played a big part in carrying them to the victory. Secure both the inhibitors by split pushing, in fact, and in team fights where they were losing was able to get kills for himself. So a very strong first rotation here from the Legacy Genesis side, as they're almost throwing back to Split 1, but the Nautilus as well, taking it away from Zaldo, still does a lot with Kalista.
And look at this Naya getting, we said comfort picks earlier, is there a more comfortable pick for Naya than a Mumu?
Funnily enough, no. It's actually one of his most comfortable. Even when he plays a Mumu, he goes exhaust, generally speaking.
Oh, really?
So we'll see what he wants to go, whether he does opt for that exhaust or actually goes for the flash this time, which I would suggest as a little bit more of a smarter option. But he's on the exhaust hype train at the moment. We'll let him go, and we'll see what he actually wants to do. The Thresh locked in again. Very strong champion. Works well for engage in laning phase. A difficult champion to gank with, perhaps, a Mumu. If there's vision control, Thresh enables that to happen during laning phase. Just puts them in a very strong, what Fortnite do, AoE-based composition.
Yeah, they seem to love that, favoring it once again. Thresh, a great support, has a little bit of a tough time locking down a Kalista, though.
Yeah, it's just weird that they've gone for the Amumu in the first rotation in particular, though, really. Because they can go for anything they want. Instead, they've locked themselves into a very weak early game here. Nidalee and Amumu both picked. And then it's up to Legacy Genesis to pick what they want.
Well, speaking of Legacy Genesis, we see that Nautilus going to be in the top lane as Becky has had Claire lock in that Bard for him. So a very strong lane last game. We're going to see that again.
Yeah, so we're going to see that bot lane again. A very, very good bot lane. And of course, Moya taking the Thresh away, but the Bard always going to be available. It does the same thing, essentially. That bonus magic on auto attacks. Between the two of them, it's an almost unbeatable 2v2 lane. Most lanes with a Kalista are unbeatable 2v2, to be fair, but it is a very strong lane.
Now, judging by this Legacy team comp so far, they want something amazing damage-wise for that mid lane. They've got themselves basically two hyper tanks in that Gragas and Nautilus. With Nautilus top lane, he's going to be getting a lot more gold, so he's going to get tankier a lot quicker.
Yeah, so they've cemented the fact that it is going to be Nidalee in that mid lane right now for Fortnite. We are seeing the fact that because Amumu's locked in, they've got the Aurelia most likely going to be there, that it is the Nidalee. Claire saving their pick for last again here, Legacy Genesis, is quite smart just to make sure it wasn't going to be a flex pick, and it's now on them to look for something that does well against the Nidalee. The Cassiopeia that we have seen does do quite well. It's not the most recommended, I guess, in terms of direct trades, Nidalee. And I guess Moya in particular does like to kill you in laning phase, which is weird to say as a Nidalee, and just make it your life hell, essentially. He might default back to something a little bit more standard, maybe even the Orianna himself, work with the rest of the team that he has, or he can go for some damage and look for some direct trades. The Victor, a very big possibility as well to go well in lane.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he locks in, but in the meantime, let's talk about this Vayne and Irelia. Naguya gets the Aurelia for himself. Such a great champion in this top lane, but not a tank.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a tank, but it is quite a big damage source. You don't look at the first item tank. It is still a tank once you get around the 2-3 item mark. So still quite good, but up against the Nautilus, it's going to be a hard lane to get through in terms of direct trades. The Nautilus having very high base damage makes it a difficult lane to begin with, and you just couple that with the rest of the pressure that you can put down here from a Gragas. It's rough. Yeah,
it looks like Becky was hovering over that Jace for Claire, but in the last seconds, locking in that Twisted Fate. We saw Twisted Fate last time the Legacy played, and they did so good on it.
Yeah, and instantly both summoner spells in the mid lane have changed to cleanse in response to one another. So getting that out of the way, not going to be a bad decision here from either laner. Of course, you've got the Amumu, you've got the Aurelia stuns, the Thresh hooks even, and then a TF is a reason enough to have a cleanse. But the mid lane matchup, it's going to be interesting. Moya are able to put down a fair bit of pressure in this lane. Most trades, if you can get a spear to connect, are very favorable for a Nidalee, but the Twisted Fate able to get everywhere on the map, put some pressure down before Naguya can ramp up with that Trinity Force, and before the Vayne and the Thresh can as well. It's also a very good pick into Vayne because of the counter to the ultimate invisibility. You can just press the ultimate for your team in a 2v2.
That's insane. That's going to be so good when Vayne hits that level 6. She likes to go invisible and take these duels. But Kalista Bard, you said that's an impossible lane to win against. We see them going for a Vayne Thresh. Do you think that's the right choice?
Not if you're looking to win lane. Definitely not if you're looking to win lane. I said Kalista Bard is a very strong 2v2. I'm going to stand by that fact. Arguably one of the strongest, but Kalista with any of the strong supports is basically the strongest 2v2 lane. You look at the fact that it's a 2v2 against a Vayne, you're instantly losing the lane. They may look for a lane swap in response to this, being the fact that they can barely get through a 2v2. Thresh is going to be a big factor in this, though. He does do a lot of damage. It's just not comparable to the side of Genesis.
Yeah, once that Bard and Kalista hit the level 2, they can really try and exploit their extra damage cap here. But we look at the jungle for a second. So Gragas not getting through the ban phase, pretty random.
Gragas getting through the ban phase against an Amumu.
Yeah.
Which is going to be on the opposition here. And you look at those two and you think, well, Gragas has complete control of the map. until about level 6. And even then, he probably still has complete control of the map because Amumu doesn't really do anything until the rest of his team can win a team fight around his engages. So we'll see how he does go in the jungle if he can make some ganks work. There's a lot of kill pressure if you can get an engage off into the mid lane onto the Jace. He's very easy to kill and he's going to be quite aggressive, but we'll see if they can make that happen. It's going to be really hard to bridge the gap of Amumu trying to get something from his own jungle.
Yeah, but if anyone can make this Amumu work, it is Naya. He had the Shyvana banned away from him because he was such a nuisance in game 1, but Amumu, one of his most, if not his most favorite champion.
Yeah, so he's defaulting back to what works for him. Of course, they don't want to lose this game. They need to win this best of 3 to secure at the very least their slot into making the promotion relegation tournament. So they do need it all to work for them in this particular game. We'll see if they can, and if anyone can make Amumu work, it is going to be Naya.
Yeah, and we have Claire on that mid lane. Did so much with that Cassiopeia last game, being able to survive just countless all-ins. The Seraph's Embrace proving to be a great pickup. Not necessarily going on it on Twisted Fate. Going to have to rely on those gold cards for a bit of disengage.
Yeah, so the laning phase itself isn't necessarily favourable for Claire at all. He is looking a lot more towards the roaming capabilities and having an impact across the map. But they've got the early pressure jungler of the Gragas who can just keep Amumu down potentially. They've got the top lane with a fair bit of kill pressure, and Nautilus is just able to be a CC bot for days and just control this Aurelia. And even with the tenacity passive of Aurelia, she's pretty much stuck in place for a fair amount of time. It's very easy for him to get in either lane. Then you look bot lane as well. They're going to win the 2v2. Twisted Fate going there just unlocks them. And even if Fortnite do look for a lane swap here, if they want to take the fact that the Vayne and the Thresh cannot win the lane directly in a 2v2, this tends to favour the Twisted Fate as the first turrets, the outer turrets go down very early, unlocks his gank potential. There's no safe spot.
Yeah, so it's really up to Moya to try and keep this Twisted Fate at bay, use his prowess on the Nidalee to exploit the weaker laning phase that Twisted Fate has.
Pretty much, yeah. So we'll see if a Nidalee can actually do that, which is going to be very interesting to see. Nidalee, not necessarily coined for the early pressure, more so hitting that level 9 and having the max damage on the spears with the max range. And it's going to be hard to do that when you're in the short lane of mid. You've got the minions to back you up essentially at all times. But if you can get control of the mid lane, if you can push the TF back, keep him under the tower with that Cougar form, then you're going to be quite comfortable. Yeah,
Nidalee, no stranger to roaming herself. Once she gets into that Cougar, she is able to pounce over the walls, get a little bit of movement speed running through brushes. And like you said, the long-range spear can just, not initiate, but be the damage it needs to be from the Fog of War.
Yeah, it doesn't even necessarily enable the Nidalee to do anything in lane, but it disables the Twisted Fate from going out of the lane, relegated to using those wild cards, just sitting in mid lane and throwing them out, going maybe the max cooldown reduction build and trying to make things happen elsewhere. But if the mid lane is controlled by the Nidalee, it becomes exponentially harder for them to do anything.
And as you mentioned earlier, Aurelia, she has that innate tenacity on her passive. She's going up against a lot of CC with Bard, Nautilus, and Twisted Fate.
Yeah.
She's going to have to get right on top of this Twisted Fate if she wants to make something work.
Yeah, so you do have to get on top of the Twisted Fate, but one of the hardest matchups for this Aurelia is going to be Kalista. The fact that you can jump around everywhere, prevent them from getting on top of you.
But with that, we're going to be jumping into Game 2. Legacy Genesis are up 1-0. Let's see if Fortnite can bring it back as we see Claire Edition just moving up to that mid lane. We saw C&J Edition having a scrap at level 1. Let's see if they go for it again, and they might just do that. C&J, he remembers what happened last time using that tumble earlier. Moya, will he connect the spear? Oh, if that had gone in, that could have been potentially a wasted summoner spell.
Something about these two and just wanting to fight at level 1 is just so prevalent for them. And they both know that nothing's going to come from it. Realistically, they both just recall immediately after. I'm pretty sure I saw C&J dance a little bit in there, and Edition was the one BMing him. So in saying that, I think Legacy Genesis found themselves with that early lead again based off ward placement.
Yeah, Edition, like you said, getting that nice ward down. Becky just going to be going and picking up those chimes early, getting a bit of a level 2 advantage here. Those chimes do provide you with experience. So if you're able to pick up the first 3 before you get to lane, that level 2 is not that far off.
Yeah, it does provide some nice experience, and it does help out in your laning phase, of course, bolstering your strength once you start getting some meeps ramping up. Your damage helps a fair bit. You put that with the Kalista passive on that W, and that just chunks them badly, really. Like, it just chunks them.
Yeah, pretty much. Looking like both teams going to be opting into that 2v2 in the bot lane. Naya going to be receiving a little bit of help, but on the side of Legacy Genesis, Edition and Becky going to be picking themselves up the Gromp. Claire's already taken some damage here.
I keep forgetting that it's an Italy mid lane.
Yeah,
because I was wondering why he was standing in the bush. Yeah. he's going to start mid, of course, as he is the mid laner to avoid, so I can clarify to myself so I know this for future reference. It's going to be quite an awkward lane to see. Of course, Claire's going to spend most of his time just trying to dodge the spears that Moya has. But in terms of direct kill threat, it'll be very unexpected as to when it does erupt.
Okay, Addition and Becky didn't pick up the Gromp. They were standing around there, but Zaldo had a nice ward down. And they can't do that Gromp for certain without fear of the bot lane from Fornot coming in and disrupting it.
Yeah, sure. The ward is there to at least give vision of the fact that they were doing it. Or maybe spot impaired in his jungle pathing. They do know because that ward did not see the Gromp that he's most likely started on his red side. And it's more of a, if we know you're starting a blue, I'm safe to start my own blue type of start here from Fornot. They weren't directly looking to maybe stop the Gromp. I guess it's more of a, can my Amumu do his blue buff before he explodes?
Yeah, it looks like we see Gragas just picking up his own Raptors. He is very low here, Amumu having the health advantage, but Gragas, he does have the sustain advantage. Every time he uses ability, going to get about 8% of his maximum health back.
Yeah, it's funny. The first clear of an Amumu, if he is left to his own devices, is exceptionally strong. He is able to take a multitude of camps and not have to recall. So if he gets his blue buff, of course, the smite there, and a lot of damage bot.
Yeah, Becky must have got hooked in. Addition, is he going to take that silver bolt? He is, but he replies with the Rend. Look at Becky. Look at those autos coming out from Becky. If Addition had been able to get off his own, the proc would have been real.
Yeah, so the trades are very interesting in this bot lane, and we did give the advantage to Addition and Becky, but the fact that the Silver Bolt procs are getting off successfully is just putting them in, I guess, a comfortable trading position this early on in the lane. Yeah,
Naya going to be clearing out his entire jungle. A hook not hitting onto Becky, but the flay was there. CNJ has used his potion, as has Addition. Not the Q not coming out successfully here.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite an impactful bot lane in terms of their direct trading, but the kill threat is always going to be very burst related. If Addition can try and get some health back, maybe find an advantage, they do have the sustain in this bot lane to maybe push themselves through to a bigger advantage than what they already have. Oh,
Addition trying to go for the sneaky Q through the minions to apply those Ren stacks onto Zaldo. Not going to happen just yet. We see them getting off to about a wave ahead of CS here in favor of Addition and Becky. Their heals just going to be stacking up in that bot. Both junglers doing their respective camps. No aggression out of any lane really just yet.
Oh, they're about to meet each other, I feel like, in terms of either scuttlebugs or mid lanes.
Oh, did they see Naya go in? He'll have seen him now. The exhaust has been used. Claire, he locks in the blue card. Unfortunately, he's going to have to flash out of this one. The flash from both members coming in. They're going to secure the first blood, but is it over yet? Impaired, he does have his flash. No flash available for Impaired, but he is just going to use those minions to block the bandage toss spear combination.
So Fornot's coordination is almost unrivaled regardless of what league you look at. They both simultaneously flash away from the Gragas over him to pick up Claire. Does not have a defensive summoner besides the cleanse, and Mumu didn't even hit the Q anyway, so he had nothing to cleanse, did not have the barrier to save his life, and he picked a blue card, so he kind of ate his own words, really. Just almost deserved it.
Yeah, pretty much. They just jumped straight on top of him to do all that damage. We see Moya. He has turned his attention to the bot lane. Will he dodge that Sentinel? I think he has. The flash from Zaldo comes in. Becky, oh no, he's going to go right into Moya here. Addition, he's in a lot of trouble. The Silver Bolts are going to proc. No, the Condemn not hitting, but Moya going to get himself a nice double kill on that Nidalee in the mid lane.
Yeah, the Nidalee with a very nice movement around the map finds himself 2 kills, and Bard magically journeying to his own death in the face of a Nidalee is a little bit awkward, but the bot lane now definitely in favor of Fornot, not by a sizable amount, but you have a look mid, and it's a lot of items on this Nidalee compared to absolutely nothing from Claire.
Yeah, picking himself up that early Sorcerer's shoes are going to make those spears that much more impactful. Naya doing what he can to prevent the farm going down to the turret. Claire realizes this and wants to go in for a trade, but Moya, being the good guy, he is giving him a nice little bit of heal for his troubles.
Yeah, Moya well and truly in control of this mid lane now. You'll see a lot of spears. It'll come down to if one can connect and then follow it up with the big kill threat that is just going to be so prevalent in this lane. He can just do this constantly. He has such big control.
Oh, look at Zaldo. The flash isn't available for Claire, so he tries to go in for a nice hook. Not going to connect. The cleanse was there. Luckily, he didn't have to burn it, but we see Moya, he hasn't gone for a tier.
But you can see where the pressure's lying from this Fortnite side. He's accelerating his build essentially with the Morellos from the looks of it. Not going for the tier just yet. It may be next on the agenda. Needs the cooldown reduction, the damage now to ensure that they can try and keep Claire down in this middle lane. Do not get him to ultimate anywhere. Keep him maybe pushed in through the items that he has bought.
Well, Claire, a little bit of fancy feet here. He has picked up those boots on TF, allowing him to dodge those spears a lot easier when they come out. Impaired just going to be picking up that pink ward. Going to take, not a little bit of damage, just the trap for his troubles. Moya, he is running dangerously low on mana though. Claire with the blue card, able to keep himself sustained.
Hasn't connected with a spear just yet. Very nice dodges from Claire, keeping himself alive in this matchup right now. Essentially what would have been a very bad change of events in this mid lane has now worked out okay in the end. Claire getting his way through it. Moya still having the advantage in terms of items, and the kills are definitely favoring Fortnite. But if they can't translate that into anything further, we might even see a repeat of what happened last time.
Yeah, Vayne, she's built herself that build water. Oh, Becky narrowly avoiding that spear, trying to get the auto attacks. The spear connects from Addition, though. A lot of damage coming down onto C&J.
Yeah, you can see the Silver Bolt's max even from C&J right now, working around that Blade of the Ruined King first item, trying to get prolonged trades or match the prolonged trades of Callista and the strengths that they have in this lane. So very smart itemization, or leveling up even rather, from this Fortnite bot lane. It's starting to hurt them though. The sustain almost favoring the Callista, even though the items are in favor of the C&J.
Yeah, we saw Naya try to bandage over that wall to go for a sneaky dragon, but the Scuttle Bug was in favor of Legacy, so he's going to have to run out of that one. Moya using that aggressive positioning. Is it going to bite him in behind? Look at the damage coming out. A teleport comes in from Pac-Man. Impaired is also there. The Curse of the Sad Mummy is going to connect on two members, but Naya, he's going to fall. Here comes Naguya for the backup. Can he get the stun off on Pac-Man to allow Naya to escape? The depth charge coming through. Will it be enough? Pac-Man's going to pick himself up that one, but it looks like Moya, he's not done yet. Oh wait, he is.
So they're just keeping pressure in the mid lane, but all in all, they find themselves a 2-for-1, funnily enough. The bot lane had themselves a little bit of a fight, and you can see it did not necessarily favor Legacy Genesis whatsoever.
Yeah, Becky going down, and the Cutlass coming up huge. Pac-Man, he teleported in. He was able to pick up a kill for himself on Naya. The top lane just going to be no one there at the moment, while Pac-Man and Impaired pick up this farm in the mid lane.
Yeah, both teleports used to get to the mid lane. They did not necessarily find themselves a kill. In fact, Pac-Man found a kill with his teleport being a little bit sooner. Moya, though, hitting one spear in laning phase, and that's what I was saying. Accelerating that item build to have raw damage output, has now got that chalice, is going to have a little bit more mana, can throw out even more spears, whereas Claire has gone for the Lucidity boots. He is looking to not be mid lane. He wants to be anywhere but mid lane right now and try and get some gold for the rest of his team.
Yeah, it looks like Moya just going to be picking himself up that blue buff now. We saw the exhaust being used on Claire. You mentioned in Champ Select, he likes to take that exhaust on the mid. Claire, he might be in trouble here. Here comes Aldo. Oh, missing the flay, but he connects the hook. The spear's going to go down. The cleanse has been used, but Claire, you are not getting out of that one, mate.
No, cleansing the actual hook and then still being lined up for the Nidalee spear is just a waste of a cleanse, essentially, as he does go down for his troubles. I mean, this Nidalee is massive right now. He's getting very close to that first item. Claire has nothing he can do in laning phase, overstaying because of a nice Thresh roam.
Yeah, so Moya really pressing his advantage, killing Twisted Fate 3 times now. He's not going to be able to roam, and if he does, is he going to have the damage output to secure some kills?
His damage is definitely wanting right now. He's going to be a stun bot for the rest of his team at this stage, and you look top lane, his chances of ganking that are very slim, given the fact that he's not doing damage, and it is a Nautilus in that top lane. But you have a look bottom, and there is a very high chance that he can get a successful gank off into that bottom lane, just based off the damage that a Callista can output. She's gone for those boots with attack speed first, get the Ren stacks, and then you've got the Claire stun, and you've got Becky who can hit the same level of stun quality and just wreck them. But again, you can see the Mumu focusing that lane of importance first.
Yeah, you mentioned Thresh does do a great job at closing the gap for a Mumu Impaired. He wants to go for a gank, but Moya, he's using that Nidalee mobility, unfortunately missing the pounce over the wall.
I don't know what you define as mobility, but he's standing on a pink ward.
Oh, wow. Claire just eating a spear straight to the face. Impaired just going to have his back, but he's one of his own.
Yeah, so you can see the control in this mid lane well and truly favoring Moya, as he can just throw out spears constantly and just keep even Impaired and Claire alike at bay. The fact that they gave him Nidalee does leave a very unfortunate position here, as he pretty much mains that champion in solo queue, and you can see it showing Supreme right now.
Yeah, the experience definitely paying off in favor of Moya, but that Twisted Fate, he does have that team fight prowess. We haven't seen him being able to use it to get into other lanes as the Dragon gets started for Fortnite. Oh, it's going to go down before anyone from Legacy can get there. They're not going to go for this fight. They realize that they're behind, and they don't want to get even further behind by taking these unnecessary engages.
Yeah, there's no point taking a risky fight right there. You've got a 0-3 Twisted Fate. Your saving grace right now is the fact that top lane is going even, if not slightly ahead, based off that kill that Pac-Man does have. It's a very non-impactful lane, to say the least, mostly just farming everywhere. But it's still a big point, is that they're going to have a very tanky Nautilus who is not going to take much damage once he recalls and actually has items.
Oh, well, look at this. Nagoya, he realizes he can do a lot of damage. Pac-Man luckily has that anchor toss to get himself out of further aggression. But you mentioned the tanky stats coming out, but Aurelia, she does have that true damage.
Yeah, Aurelia very good in the 1v1 trades. Of course, once it does come to team fighting, if Aurelia is hitting a Nautilus, Aurelia is not exactly doing her job. So in saying that, he's still going to be quite big for team fights. He's going to have the Righteous Glory soon, I would imagine, to be able to enable the rest of his team to do some work. But it is going to come down to if Claire can do anything in team fights at all, or if he's just going to be a sitting duck for a spear.
Yeah, it looks like he is building himself up the makings of that Lich Bane, so maybe decided to, you know, relegate himself to that split push position. Doesn't want to... He realizes his team fight prowess won't be there for a very long time if he can just try and get gold from farming minions from his passive while also getting that global tower gold. He might be able to bring himself back up.
Yeah, and he's not going to be too far behind in terms of gold at the moment either, just because of the fact he does have the passive, the only difference being those kills. A lot of the focus from Fortnite has been around controlling the mid lane, not around objectives. They haven't found themselves a turret just yet for their troubles. And even when it is 6-1, the score and the gold lead starting to creep up in favor of Fortnite, the fact that turrets can just be sitting there standing gold awaiting Legacy to take, the difference can be closed very quickly.
Yeah, if Moya, sorry, used to saying Impaired from the last game on that Nidalee. If Moya's in that Cougar form, Claire, he's going to have to flash to go for a gold card. He's just spacing himself so well from that Twisted Fate's auto attack range.
Yeah, and you can see working mostly around the fact that he has a range advantage with those spears, being able to sit back and not get stunned whilst throwing spears out constantly, forcing Claire into awkward positions to last hit minions, where you've got that angle that Moya is taking is super smart.
Yeah, look at Claire. He wants to get... Moya, sorry, going in for the fight here. The bandage toss hits Claire. He's going to have to flash over the wall. The Curse of the Sad Mummy, not going to do anything. A nice Tempered Fate to quell the aggression. Pac-Man wants to go into Nidalee, connects the toss, but looks like the Lantern will get him to safety. Oh, the stun not hitting from Becky just yet.
Yeah, nothing connecting just there besides the Tempered Fate. You can see the disengage was definitely the plan from Fortnite. They didn't have the numbers there just yet. The teleport by Pac-Man being used to get there as soon as possible, whereas Naguya has walked there, is currently standing on a ward and watching the minions die.
Twisted Fate has Destiny available. Will he use it to get back to lane if something comes out? Pac-Man, he has been set up. There's the Destiny being used. He is coming onto the right side. I don't know if that was too far up though. Impaired. He's focusing onto Zaldo and Moya. Moya might go down here. The Ignite is ticking a shutdown gold going over to Nautilus. Bard picks himself up. Thresh Naya, he's in a lot of trouble. Mumu only with the flash, the gold card. Oh, the bandage toss over the wall, going to be keeping him alive. Here comes the chase. Is he going to be able to get away? He's booking it. That's for sure.
He gets away, and of course they do find a nice trade though, Legacy Genesis. Claire being able to come back with those home guards again, use the ultimate after a fight, flashing away from the Amumu ultimate to start it all, and they work around the strengths of this Genesis team comp. The fact that they can just consistently engage, they can move around the map very speedily and find themselves a favorable trade. The gold lead again with that one tower that has now gone down on the back of a positive fight, giving them the advantage. And it's funny because after all of these winning fights that have started to favor Fortnite, Legacy Genesis win one and they translate into global gold. Fortnite have not been able to do that once yet.
Yeah, that's something we would expect out of the more experienced team of Fortnite, but Legacy Genesis showing that they're no strangers to map control on top of their mechanical prowess.
Definitely, they have managed to make it work in their favor, and given the fact that it's still 6-3 in terms of kills, the gold is no different between them at all.
Yeah, look at that. But they do have the tower on the side of Fortnite. They do have a dragon. Twisted Fate going to be picking himself up that blue buff. Going to be able to farm with the wild cards now. As you mentioned, he has those lucidity boots, so the cooldown's not going to be an issue. We saw Pac-Man, though, getting the shutdown gold off to Moya. That's going to be great. He's finished up his Righteous Glory.
Yeah, very tanky right now is Pac-Man, and only able to initiate his team even further with that Righteous Glory completed. Will be working towards a Frozen Heart, I would imagine, as his next item, and then going to be near unkillable. As, I mean, the Nidalee is a big threat. Is starting to get what looks like a Void Staff to increase the damage output, essentially, of the Nidalee, but it's going to be really hard if they can just find kills onto him again and again. Yeah,
Moya has really been favouring this right side of the mid lane. His whole team have been setting up nice pink wards and wards for himself just so he can't get ganked, because gank potential from the Graga, combined with that Twisted Fate gold card is just such high pressure.
Yeah, and we've seen the Gragas in the last fight find kills very easily as finally the turret comes down.
Oh, they could go for a Magical Journey through that massive wall, but addition, he is quite low on mana. The dragon is 20 seconds away Legacy. They don't want to do anything too risky just before it spawns.
And speaking of too risky, you can see Claire pushing his luck, getting that mid farm down to try and bring Fortnite back to square one, where they are in the mid lane, and alleviate a bit of pressure around the dragon so that Legacy Genesis can work their way in. In saying that, they still need to recall here on the side of the bot lane of Legacy Genesis. Addition getting that Bloodthirster, but the dragon's already been started.
Yeah, I don't like that Naguya is down here. He has the teleport advantage. He can stay in that top wave and pressure the tower. He doesn't have to match Pac-Man. But it really doesn't even matter, because Legacy aren't going to go for this, as Kalista wasn't even there. So Naguya actually wasting a lot of time here.
Yeah, it didn't need to be around the dragon area. It's more of a safety thing just being there. Of course, not knowing where the rest of the Legacy Genesis side were. It's more of a precaution to take as the hook.
CNJ, he gets hooked. The exhaust coming out. There's the Tempered Fate only hitting Zaldo. They focus their attention onto Addition, the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Coming up clutch here, Irelia. She picks up one. Does she get the second on Becky? She's changed her focus onto Pac-Man, just trying to run away from this in the backline. Twisted Fate gets taken out by Vayne, barred by Nidalee. That's a 3-for-0 in favor of Fortnite.
And Legacy Genesis are in shambles. They have a very strong team comp here of Fortnite. They're making it work in their favor. They get the engage they're looking for. The Tempered Fate not able to disengage enough. And again, the back line of this Legacy Genesis team.
Oh, look at Zaldo. Goes for the flash hook. He connects it onto Pac-Man. Going to be taking him down, followed by the tower. That's another kill for Moya. He's going huge on this Nidalee.
Yeah, and they're working around Pink's power spikes on the rest of their team at the same time. The Trinity Force completed from Naguya. Still has that teleport to go top lane if he would like. There's no dragon to take. The turret's starting to get hit on by the minions. We'll see if it does want to go down as well. As Fortnite just starting to explode their way across this map. 10-3 now in kills.
Yeah, really pushing the advantage they had, not in terms of gold, but in terms of team composition. We saw Naya. He got a brilliant Curse of the Sad Mummy once the attention had been focused onto Addition. Naguya, he just jumped straight on in there, getting the slow/stun combo. Addition, he couldn't hop away in time.
No, there was no way for Addition to get out of there at all. They do need a Mikhail's Crucible very soon onto this Bard rather than later to help Addition to make his way through team fights successfully. It's very difficult for him right now, given the front line of this Fortnite side is massive, and then they've got a Nidalee sitting in the back line just throwing out spears, trying to connect with you. Addition goes down very quickly. Claire, not the big focal point of this side right now because his damage output is lacking.
Yeah. Fortnite, they know that when you're versing a Kalista, the Baron threat is always going to be there. So doing a great job of clearing out any wards and making sure they have some of their own. A tower goes down in that top lane. CNJ not getting there in time to stop it.
Yeah, they didn't stop it, but the turret is going to go down. It's now 2-3 for turrets in favor of Fortnite after that last trade. So they do find themselves with a nice advantage picking up those mid lane turrets.
Oh, Pac-Man, hook, line, and sinker. He gets hooked here. He is going to go down once CNJ gets a few more auto attacks. He's trying to anchor toss out. I don't know it's going to be enough impaired. Uses the ulti defensively. Only going to connect with Naya and the tower. Another tower going down for Fortnite.
They're starting to extend their lead even further right now, Fortnite. The team fighting capabilities of this Legacy Genesis side are not what it was.
Oh my god, CNJ, the aggression coupled with that Naya ultimate. He does have the Curse of the Sad Mummy available. I think he used it during the Bard ultimate, so it kind of cancelled itself out there. Impaired in addition, gonna try and defend this tower. The spear not connecting, but Naya, he's not done yet. He's straight onto Impaired, but it might have been a little bit too far. The tower is on him. So is Addition and Claire. He does have the face of the mountain, keeping him a little bit safe. Nagaya, he's stunned under the inhibitor turret, sorry. Looks like Addition and Claire, they want to make their way. Pac-Man, he has teleported in. He has the ultimate available. CNG goes down for the shutdown. There's the Destiny. Who will they choose to go for? Noya, he is going to be able to avoid that anchor toss. Meanwhile,
what?
Claire, he's teleporting a little bit out of position.
Just recall, man.
He's so low.
Yeah, look, they're not going to be able to get anything for their troubles. They find the teleport. They do still get a kill onto CNJ, who is being hyper-aggressive there. He does get some kills. They get the turret in the top lane. They don't get the second one, though, as the aggression was overwhelming and involved a dive more so than just a push. All in all, Legacy Genesis, they find a kill, but they're slipping further behind.
Yeah, they're letting their lack of ward control get the better of them. We saw all 5 members of Fortnite were able to get up there pretty much unseen and dive the Pac-Man in the top.
Yeah, they did get down onto him very quickly. He is not that tanky right now if you compare him to the rest of the side of Fortnite's damage output. It's just through the roof. So even the biggest tanks of Legacy Genesis are going to fall quite quickly. It's going to come down to a very well executed fight onto priority targets of this Fortnite team, or they can run away with the game from here.
Yeah, Callista, she really needs to get herself that rune sitting on only the Bloodthirst and the recurve bow at the moment. And as I mentioned earlier, Fortnite doing a great job of keeping vision on this Baron. They know that with Callista, the Baron is basically an objective anytime in the game.
Yeah, it definitely is and needs to be respected. But Fortnite focusing around that because it might be the next point of contention for them to do.
Oh, look at that Impaired. The Silver Bolt's doing so much damage. He's going to die here. The Tempered Fate going to allow for Pac-Man to run away, or is it, as Moya hits a nice spear on the back end?
Yeah, Moya hitting those spears and CNJ even condemning him into a wall to start the fight up, as the Baron is now the focal point of Fortnite.
Dead. With their jungler dead, they have very little chance of going for this. Zaldo, he's got the box, not available just yet, so he's going to get taken down extremely fast once that gold card connects, but the Baron has been picked up. CNJ, he wants to take the fight. Moya, he does miss the jump over the wall. The Curse of Sad Mummy has been used. They're going on to Addition, but Becky trying to keep him safe with that stun. Pac-Man in the front line, going to go down to CNJ. It doesn't look like the fight's over yet as Claire. He's going for Moya, but he's going to meet Nagaya and Naya right in the face. Oh. But meanwhile, CNJ has been taken down, but Moya, he's not done yet. He picks up 1, he picks up 2, he's going for the 3rd. Can he get it? He's trying his best, but Addition kiting, but that's a triple kill for Moya.
So they get the Baron. They find themselves a very big winning team fight. 4 members dead and Impaired just spawning now. They can translate that Baron into complete control of the map right now, as that gold lead again has just skyrocketed in favor of Fortnite. They get what they're looking for. They can translate the Baron into a dragon, and then the dragon into potentially the rest of this game. Legacy Genesis' side now essentially in shambles.
Oh, Impaired, what are you doing, man? He wants to go in for just a little bit of vision, maybe getting the timer down for that dragon. Moya going to clear out that ward. That's the 3rd dragon going over to Fortnite.
So we're going to see this fight again, and of course a very aggressive initiation here from this Fortnite side. The Mumu alternate not connecting, in addition just sitting back and trying to kite as long as he can, but the tanks of this Genesis side are so far from being called tanks, they are essentially irrelevant right now. Claire does pick up Naguya. They do find a kill for Addition, but after a very nice kiting display here from Addition, he's going to go down for his troubles. And it's just such a big lead now on the back of that fight. The Baron, it should be very easy for them now to try and just dismantle the rest of the Legacy Genesis team.
Look at Moya. Look how far ahead he is over his counterpart in Claire. Claire, he's only got that Lichbane picked up, while Moya, he has the Death Cap, the Void Staff, and the Unholy Grail. He's just doing so much damage while has the Mana Regen and a Spell Pen to back it up.
But I mean, even look at the AD carries right now. You've got an incomplete Phantom Dancer with a blade against what is finally now the Hurricanes. And that team fighting capabilities of Genesis does start to increase from here on out. But in saying that, it's not necessarily a position you want to be in when you've finally got your items, but everyone else has more items than you do.
Yeah, 25 minutes in the game, about a 6k gold lead in favor of Fortnite. They're going to pick themselves up another turret. Pac-Man, he has recalled back to the base. Going to try and defend this. The Baron minions doing work. It looks like they want this inhibitor turret.
Yeah, they should be able to get this eventually. A very slow push from Fortnite before they actually pull the trigger. Their team comp does work well around just that big go button from the Amumu. They can back it up nicely with Spears and the Vayne doing damage in the backline. But it's going to take a little bit of time until the hooks connect and the Mumu bandage toss on the right target.
Yeah, they really have to go for the right target. Look at that. Impaired just gets chunked by these silver bolts. Pac-Man also. CNJ just doing work on the back of his Vayne, trying his best. The Righteous Glory has been popped. Not going to use it offensively just yet. The Baron's buff has fallen off, so these siege minions just going to turn into regular ones.
No more Baron buff to help their siege. It's going to be a little bit harder for them to do so, but they're still keeping Legacy on the ropes. The Vayne damage right now needing to be respected. You can see Legacy Genesis, though, they're working around that top lane minion wave. There's one thing they can do, it's keep it pushed, but holy...
Oh, looks like the engage is there. Becky in the backline trying to get a nice tempered fake. Claire, he's running for his life. Nagoya, he has taken out Addition. Naya's in there. The Curse of Sad Mummy has been used. No follow-up damage just yet. The team's trying to run the box, keeping his team safe from re-engage Impaired. He goes down. Sorry, not Impaired, rather. Pac-Man. Impaired's going to follow, but that's another kill. That's the ace. Can they end it here?
Fortnite have got themselves an ace. 30 seconds to end this game. They should have more than enough time to do so right now. This Genesis roster just having no answer to the Nidalee, no answer to the pressure that they were placing down onto Claire as the Amumu just ran away with this game.
Yeah, look at that. They're going to be focusing down the last Nexus tower. The Nexus is naked. No one going to be up except for Addition. He's not going to be able to defend this, and Fortnite tied up 1-1.
They've evened out the series now with one game remaining. It is going to be very important to win this next game. Legacy Genesis needing to regroup, but Fortnite showing their strengths, why they were in the OPL last split.
Yeah, right now, Nidalee paying dividends for both teams. Impaired using it impeccably, but Moya really being a hard carry.
Making it work, controlling the bottom side of that mid lane from the start of the game, working around the pressure that Thresh can put there, that even the Amumu gang put down at around the level 4 mark, outplaying the Gragas from Impaired and just finding themselves kills, keeping Claire down, seemingly the most important factor in this game.
Yeah, we saw time and time again, Thresh would make his way up in that mid lane. Claire, he only had the Cleanse and Flash, 2 defensive summoner spells, but it didn't pay out for him in the end.
No, it just didn't work out in the end. Fortnite making a very convincing victory in their second game. It's now tied 1-1.
Alrighty, guys, when we come back, we'll be jumping into the third and final game. See you after the break. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Oceanic Challenger Series. My name is Max Rogi for Foglia, joined by Zach Rusty Pie, and judging from that replay, I expect Nidalee to be banned.
Yeah, it was a very convincing victory. Fortnite, of course, taking the win over Legacy Genesis in game number 2 of this best-of-3 series. A very strong game from them, and as you mentioned, on the back of Nidalee, on the back of Moya, just going massive in that game.
Yeah, so who are they going to target ban this time? We saw Ezreal getting banned away last game. Nidalee kind of up in the air. First picked for Fortnite in the second game, but let's see if it gets through again.
Yeah, so most importantly, both teams have won a game with Nidalee.
Yep.
That is a point of contention coming into this next champion select. We'll see if either team wants to focus it with potentially a ban or if it is just going to be picked away.
All right, well, speaking of bans, we see Fizz, Echo, and Alistair getting taken away. Ezreal banned quite early here, but no one wants to see that. No one wants to play against that, should I say.
Yeah, you'll see Legacy Genesis on the blue side in this game, so they do have the first pick. Ezreal taken away for that exact reason, and even the Kalista from Genesis has been banned.
Yeah, it looks like they've got something in mind for that first pick that doesn't involve Kalista. Doesn't want Fortnite picking that one up on their first rotation.
Seemingly so. They have banned the Kalista. You can see the Fizz as well. Another pick away from Naguya. And I mean, it is going to go to show based off that last ban.
There it is, Nidalee. No one wants to play against it. We saw both teams doing amazing work. But I'm excited to see what Legacy Genesis. The Rise is available.
Yeah, Rise is available. It's a very big pick for them to potentially take away here. But it doesn't seem like it's the point they want to directly go to.
No, it looks like they like that Nautilus. Whether in the top lane or support he'll go this time, they first picked it.
Yeah, they first picked it. I guess it is more of a flex pick. It is available in more than one role, so not a bad first pick all in all. Of course, keeping in mind the Rise is definitely still available. They've got a lot of jungle options still there. The Kalista not so much a possibility anymore. So the Sivir, generally the default to go to as your next option, not prioritized by Legacy Genesis as they have locked in that North.
Yeah, so maybe something more along the lines of a Jinx and the famous Oceanic Tristana might be here, but we see Thresh being hovered over. A great champion. We saw Zaldo doing a lot of work with it last game.
Yeah, it was a very strong Thresh last game, enabling the rest of his team roaming around the map and finding kills in the mid lane also. So he had a lot of impact in that last game. It's definitely worth respecting and maybe picking up again.
So Naya, he might be going for a different jungler again. His Shyvana wasn't banned, but probably opting for that Sejuani.
Yeah, we'll see as they do lock it in.
There we go, Thresh and Sejuani locked in.
Yeah, so they picked up the Sejuani. They haven't gone for the Amumu again this time. A little bit more of a bigger threat in terms of direct team fighting. You don't need to be on top of them to use your ultimate this time. You can just throw it out from a distance and still have the same amount of impact, essentially, which is why you often see Sejuani as a better version of an Amumu.
Well, after having Nidalee and Kalista banned this game, we see Rek'Sai being left available and impaired. He's going to lock that one in for himself, but on the back of that, Claire picking up Sivir for addition.
Yeah, so they picked up Sivir, and it was mentioned that they maybe want to consider that one, take it away from the Fortnite side, one of the few remaining strong AD carry options left still available to pick. They've gone for the Rek'Sai with it, another very good early pressure jungle, vision control based jungler that works around being able to spot out where the Sejuani is, maybe invade, and just put some pressure down onto Naya and make his life miserable.
Yeah, so Fortnite, they do have the advantage of last picking that mid laner for themselves. So far, we've seen Legacy Genesis go for that, leaving Claire's champion till the very end. So Fortnite might have the potential to counterplay a little bit here, but CNJ hovering over that Vayne, we saw his aggression on that Vayne last game really working out for him.
Yeah, and we saw how strong their bottom lane was as a 2v2, even in a losing matchup against the Kalista and a Bard. The fact that the Vayne and the Thresh were so comfortable that the Thresh could disappear from lane and roam elsewhere, he had a big impact across the map. The Vayne just doing so much damage, being very aggressive. He plays super well when he's ahead is the important part. We'll see how he plays if he does fall behind it all, though, CNJ. Be very interesting.
Well, we see that Moya has locked in Irelia for Naguya. We saw him in that versus that top lane Nautilus. He did considerably well considering up against such a big tank, and we thought his team fight would fall off a little bit with all that CC, but he was able to get onto the priority target of Addition's Kalista and take him down.
Definitely was. They were doing a lot of work in team fights, and as we've mentioned many times, Fortnite, if there's one thing they can do, it is team fight effectively. So utilizing that to find themselves some very nice kills. They've got the Irelia to back that up again, as we're going to see that, and of course the Vayne Their team fighting is going to be prevalent in terms of damage output already. All they're missing is most likely, again, probably an Orianna or maybe even a Xerath to back it up.
Yeah, they have so many potential picks from Moya in this mid lane. Maybe not Orianna, though, if Claire locks himself in that one. Going to be going back to that Cassiopeia, though, and Scion for Pac-Man. So that is going to be a support Nautilus.
They have picked up the Scion. Very tanky top laner, a very good bullying type of champion, as Pac-Man does play a little bit of Scion, is going to be able to be a big threat and just an annoyance for this top laner of Naguya, essentially, from Fortnite. We'll see if he can actually make an impact with those teleport ults, or ults even, to get around the map from base. Scion very volatile in terms of his gank ability.
Yeah, Scion basically innovating that early level 2 start, dying to a jungle camp, using his corpse to finish it off. But we see Cassiopeia for Claire. We saw him doing work on that in the first game. Let's hope he can replicate it.
Yeah, they had the double scaling comp in their first game with the 2 tiers from the jungle and mid lane respectively. This time, just going to be Claire on that Cassiopeia with Rek'Sai as the other champion to work with him. We'll see if those two can work together again. A lot more early pressure, maybe a lot more kill threat in the mid lane. And still, without the mid lane decided here from Fortnite, he does have to be careful.
Yeah, with 1 second left, it looks like Azir will be the choice here. Not going to swap that around to anything as of yet. So Moya, he's picked himself up Azir. We've seen Azir do wonders. The Emperor's Divide, so good for a champion like Vayne as well. She can sit behind that, auto-attack anyone that gets a little bit too close, tumble back in it for safety.
Yeah, so the Azir has been picked up here, and it's going to be a very volatile mid lane. The Claire on Cassiopeia and Azir is actually a fairly standard matchup in terms of mid lanes, but Claire has the advantage at level 2 up until about level 6, and then you'll see the potential for kills from Moya to turn this one around and start finding some favor in his own direction. He's got the Sejuani to back that one up also. Their ganks are quite dangerous if it can connect, but it's very difficult against Claire on this Cassiopeia to ramp up.
Well, if he doesn't take off Cleanse, he's going to have a little bit of trouble using that level 2 exploit if Moya takes Ignite here. Not sure why you'd take Cleanse in a lane burst. Yeah, you're right. Sejuani and Thresh. We've seen Zaldo pay a lot of attention to that mid lane. Hitting those hooks to Flays, not so much.
Yeah, the Sejuani is a big factor. You don't necessarily take the summoner spells just to get you through laning phase. Cassiopeia, a very self-sufficient type of mid laner who can get herself through all of the tough spots just from her raw base damage that she can constantly throw out at you. So can opt for more of a team-oriented style of summoner spell, has the cleanse there to get rid of the Sejuani threat of engage without using the actual dash, having to just use the ultimate. You can cleanse and get out of it, no problem.
Now, how is that going to work for her? You mentioned earlier a level 2 power spike. She wants to go in once she gets that poison and twin fangs and really abuse the enemy mid laner. But Azir, he's got himself that ignite, so he's going to be no stranger to a level 2 himself.
So the way that it's going to work in this mid lane, most likely look for around the level 3 mark now, not the level 2. The fact that Azir very aggressive with his usage of being level 3 by having all of his spells available. If he uses the Q to put down damage, doesn't actually put it in the right direction or is dodged by Claire, he can instantly turn that one around and just run at him. Because without the Q available, the disengaged length, the distance that you can actually cross as the Azir is not far enough, essentially, to save yourself from the damage that Cassiopeia can put down.
Well, Cassiopeias, they love to play aggressive, so I guess we'll have to wait and see if she goes for it. But looking at this jungle matchup, we see the Rek'Sai very often banned, but getting through this time.
Yeah, we've seen the Rek'Sai up into the Sejuani, and it's basically early pressure up against whatever Naya decides he wants to do. We saw a Mumu ganks where he was super aggressive around the level 3 mark. So depending on what he wants to do, it'll be very interesting. The Sejuani, of course, versatile in that respect, but gets very low in the first clear. That's the important part here, whereas the Rek'Sai, always relatively healthy. Yeah,
she can heal herself up with that passive, maybe go for an invade, but Sejuani, she's no stranger to those early one-on-ones, does have a good escape mechanic for herself should it happen. In the top lane, though, we see Scion, not a champion we're that familiar with.
Yeah, so Aurelia, the opposition, is very good for sustain, but Scion can just constantly harass you to the point where it doesn't matter how much sustain you have, you're going to have a very bad time. It's a very awkward lane to be in as an Aurelia, but Scion doesn't ever really lose lane. He's always going to be there. He's always going to be relevant, but if he can make something happen, if he can utilize the teleport, get some ganks off successfully, you'll see probably an eruption on the map where Scion just starts to take hold. Otherwise, Aurelia is the talking point.
Well, that's the thing. Once he hits 6, he doesn't even need to go for that teleport. He can just recall back to base and potentially ult from any lane and run straight down there with the knock-up. So I'm looking forward to see if he plays a little bit aggressive with that.
Yeah, so there's a possibility that he could play super aggressive with that, but I think it is based mostly off how the laning phase goes. If the Sion gets going, then that's exactly what we'll see. If he doesn't, then most likely going to see the teleport ganks, not going to be able to control Aurelia as much, and you'll see a lot more of an impact from Naguya.
And this time we don't see any Bard in the game. So Legacy, they have opted for that Nautilus. Looked like it may have been going top early on in the draft, but they have chosen to have the Sivir Nautilus bot lane. Now, Sivir versus Vayne, both have relatively low attack range.
So Vayne's picked as like a pseudo-soft counter to the Sivir, essentially.
Okay.
The 1v1 is directly favoring the Vayne after around the first big item buy, where you see if it's an Infinity Edge against a Blade of their Own King, Vayne will win the 1v1 indefinitely.
Yep.
But the 2v2 is always going to favor the Sivir matchup. Sivir is essentially trying to last hit minions and farm and push them under the turret for as long as possible. You're looking at it basically a PvP against a PvE.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Sivir just wants to unlock the map for Nautilus to go and roam and use his innate CC on his kit to just make the mid lane's life a living hell.
Not necessarily looking to unlock the map for Nautilus, more so looking to lock the bottom lane down so that the Vayne and the Thresh can't go anywhere because they're stuck under the tower, taking damage from ricochets, slowly whittling down their health bars, and just allowing the rest of the team to work around a 3v3 on the top half.
No, that definitely makes sense, and we see Sejuani, once she hits level 6, that's you don't want anyone else besides Sejuani and the lane she's ganking to be there. The longer you can keep them locked down, the better. But they're going to have a real threat with that dragon. The Silver Bolt does do a lot of damage, kind of a pseudo-ish Callista.
Yeah, it does do a lot of damage, and we saw the trades last game between the Callista and the Vayne as to how it was even fairly even in that respect. If it's not a too overly prolonged style of trade, the Wrens can't get enough stacks in there to really impact it. We'll see if it can do it again this game, though.
Yeah, jumping into the Rift with Game 3 for Fornot versus Legacy. Everyone just running to their respective roles. CNJ, let's see if him and Addition go for it. But looks like Claire will be taking up the fight here. CNJ going to be not dodging that poison, but he does have the attack damage advantage. And CNJ, he loves to brawl in this mid lane. Gets the early ward down, so Legacy not having the ward advantage this time.
You know, this favors Cassiopeia by like 100% because she has a passive.
It's in range of the tower as well.
Yeah, he completely stuffed that up. So I guess, again, just to reiterate that fact, Cassiopeia having that passive is actually getting poison stacks down right now. Is working towards, even though it's a small amount, getting something from that, whereas CNJ is just trying to stick to the trend, I guess.
Did lose his ward in the process, though, so getting absolutely no advantage out of it. Everyone just going to be waiting then in their respective roles. Becky and Sivir might look to take this these Groms for themselves as the pings go out for Rek'Sai on the Raptor camp.
And that's a lot of pings. That's, of course, that's for not actually pinging to say you're an idiot because your ward died. That's genuinely what those pings were. And now they're questioning whether someone is mid.
Yeah, look at that. So Rex actually probably going to be soloing out that red by the positioning at the moment. They want to get that Sivir level 2 as quickly as she can so she can push those waves with the Ricochet and Boomerang blade. Pac-Man going to be doing what Sion does, dying to a camp and then going into the top lane.
Yes, so funnily enough, but there's going to be like no jungle left from the side of Legacy Genesis, all starting a camp, including the jungler.
Oh, look at Zaldo here. Might be being a little bit cheeky. If he can get in for that first... Oh, no, when he does the Ignite, he's going to pick up first blood for himself. Pac-Man, oh, if he was able to take that big Raptor away, that would have been huge, but still getting an innate advantage there.
It's funny. It's 400 gold going to Zaldo. There's nothing really achieved in terms of direct lane strength.
Though.
Maybe level 2. 400 gold's going to be nice, though, for Zaldo. Thankfully for Pac-Man, he's still got the Raptors. He still is going to get to lane at around the exact same time anyway with level 2. He didn't use anything for it.
Yeah, so Zaldo basically spending both summoners for a 400 gold advantage and some hilarity. So going back to the lane, no flash or ignite, so the summoner advantage is in favor of Legacy here.
It's just embarrassing, really. It's just the one thing you know Sion players like to do, and this is why a lot of Sion start at the Wolf camp instead of going for the Raptors, is because you can place down early wards and you can't actually be spotted placing them. The Wolves are deeper, it's a lot safer to be there, but hey, it paid off for 4-0. Very smart warding, very well roamed and rotated by the Thresh.
Yeah, Naya getting incredibly low, but luckily he is not going to be going for that red buff to smite for the extra health. Going to be picking up his Krugs first. But Sejuani, she has such high armor in these early stages of the game thanks to her passive.
Yeah, and quite comfortable in terms of jungling, but does get fairly low just because the damage output isn't necessarily higher, irrespective of the armor amount. As these two in top lane are going to be very aggressive, and the fact that he's still got the Raptors, he's quite comfy.
Oh, Moya, he's in a bad spot. He does have heal and flash available. Looks like he is just going to sand shuffle out of there impaired. Not going to get anything for it.
No, but he did make Moya use a lot of mana to actually get out, so it is a little bit harder to stay around in this laning phase. Trading just becomes that little bit more difficult. You have to pick them a lot better rather than just blatantly doing so. Yeah,
you mentioned mana issues. Cassiopeia doesn't even know what that is. She's just going to be able to last hit with that Twin Fang and restore missing mana. Looks like Sejuani making her way back to the red buff in the jungle. And the top lane, not too much happening here. We saw a nice dodge, being able to dodge out that roar of the Slayer from Naguya earlier. So hopefully he can keep that up.
Yeah, there's a lot of skill involved in the top lane matchup, but direct skill is almost irrelevant to the fact that they're going to just be doing no damage to each other. Pac-Man having a lot of base damage assigned is very nice if he can charge the Q up, but it's not necessarily that important as Naguya can sit back. He's very good at farming under the turret as well, and that's one thing Sion is going to do, is push.
Yeah, it looks like in this bot lane we see not really a CS advantage in favor of Sivir just yet, but she is going to have that wave so far pushed. They have good wards to spot if Sejuani comes through, but that's the advantage of Thresh. Sejuani, she can sit in that tri-bush just up to the top left, and Zaldo can land her in anytime she wants.
Yeah, now Thresh is sitting in the bot lane with a 400 gold advantage, achieving absolutely nothing for it because of the matchup that they have found themselves in. The fact that Sivir can keep them under the turret, stop them from rotating anyway. They can't unlock Zaldo with that experience that he did gain from it. And in fact, he finds himself a little bit behind.
Yeah, look at this addition just doing what Sivir does. Ricochet and Boomerang blading the entire wave. Sejuani might want to go for a gank here. They're doing what we said. Looks like the Lantern is out. Addition, he has been hit. Does he have the spell shield available? Maybe, but they've changed their attention to Becky. He does get hooked. He's going to have to flash the Igniters down. He gets condemned back, and that's going to be another kill going over to Zaldo.
Yeah, why not? He's the real carry of the team, that's for certain. They give Zaldo a second kill now. He's just having a field day with this money. Rek'Sai made his way down here, but couldn't get there in time to save him as the heal was used from Addition also. The spell shield's still there, though. Yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah, going to be a nice chunk of mana coming through. He has to use that. Zaldo just hoping that his reaction time isn't there, but Naguya getting damaged quite a bit from this Sion. Look at this. Every time Naguya, he wants to go in for a minion, Sion can just safely charge that massive Q. He does too.
But it does work a little bit off distance, so a little bit risky to use it directly underneath the turret while they're looking at you.
Oh, Naya, he's been spotted by Impaired. The Chilling Smite has gone down. He is going to... Oh, the Arctic Assault has been blocked by Impaired. I was just about to say that, but Naya, he is still just going to trot off this one.
Yeah, he gets out quite alright. No real concern for death there. Claire was not close enough to make anything happen directly as we're seeing the teleport used. Nothing actually coming from anything ever besides 2 kills onto a Thresh.
Well, so the teleport advantage is in favor of Pac-Man. If he doesn't want to use it, he can just run back up to that top lane. The Sion ultimate is huge in that regard. Looks like Moya, though, taking a lot of poke. Claire, the first one to hit level 6 in this mid lane. Moya, he does have the heal instead of Ignite. He must have changed it at the last second. The cleanse still on Claire. Moya just doing what he can to farm, but like you mentioned, his mana is getting incredibly low and missing a lot of these. Pac-Man, though.
He actually ulted to safety just then, so managing to get out. The flash used by Naguya to try and secure a kill, did not find a kill, and now has no flash, as Pac-Man still having his teleport can just come straight back to that top lane if he would like, with some items now, and probably try his best to out-sustain the damage that Aurelia put, or just walk there and keep your teleport.
Yeah, that was very risky of him to stay in that lane. Once Aurelia had come back with that Sheen, we saw kill potential was basically there. Claire not doing too much. Zaldo again looking towards this mid lane. He really wants to get a gank off.
He wants to do something. I mean, he does have 2 kills. You kind of need to do something for it. But Moya is actually watching the Rek'Sai. He just doesn't know Claire is directly below it.
Oh, there we go, Claire. Can he get the slowdown from his ultimate? He does hit the poison and misses the ultimate. Doesn't even hit the poison, rather, as Moya just flashes over that one.
So he put the poison as more of a flanking option, forcing a flash, but did waste his ultimate, assuming the flash was not going to come out. A Bit of a mistake there from Claire, but still all in all, forcing a flash out of this Azir, and now complete control of the lane is Claire's.
Yeah, look at that. Already a 10 CS advantage. It's just going to grow as these minions will down to the tower in the bot lane. We see CNJ has hit level 6. No level 6 from anyone else. Remember, CNJ did have that solo experience for a little bit as Zaldo made his way over to kill Sion. But Addition finally got on the hunt. Not on the hunt. What is it?
Yeah, it's on the hunt.
Oh, it's on the hunt. I'm thinking of Rengar for some reason. That's Thriller the Hunt, I think. CNJ, though, just going to be farming up in this bot lane. Addition doing the same. So if you see Sivir letting you, if Sivir's not pushing you, it's almost like she's letting you push up.
Yeah, so it's starting to feel that way. But again, you have to keep in mind 2-0 on this Thresh right now. Vayne having a bit of control of the lane, mostly because Becky's 5 as well. Sivir not having any direct influence on the lane, being level 6, whereas Nautilus does need the ultimate.
Well, here comes
they
Naya.
are feeling some pressure. They know that Naya is nearby.
We see the Rek'Sai scream. She's going to be in the top lane, not going to be near for this potential gank. Becky, will he get the ward down? Naya, he's in a great position to go here. Look at the bot lane of Fortnite. They are backing considerably far away, making Addition want to go that extra mile.
It's pretty obvious though. Zaldo playing like he's Superman, that he doesn't take damage. Addition trying to just farm with his cube, but is getting closer.
I mean, what's he going to do? Naya, he's so patient. Yeah. He has that Glacial Prison available. Can use it from the Fog of War. Addition's reaction time is going to be, has to be on point to dodge it.
So the only way you could really dodge it is if you're expecting it right now. Zaldo just sitting in the bush is actually causing more of a concern than it is helping right now. Is Fortnite are just going to resign themselves to sitting in a bush and telling each other stories about, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, Zaldo missing the hook here. Becky, he knows that it's coming. They've basically had this gank telegraphed for them by the way Zaldo was playing earlier. Finally, Naya is going to go, is going to leave this bot lane, leeching a lot of good experience for himself, though.
Yeah, he leached experience, but he's also losing a red buff for his troubles.
So they definitely knew he was there.
Well, it's just not worth it. Like, being there for that long, they didn't even have a ward down. They didn't need a ward down. And they still just had this feeling based off the way that Zaldo was playing that he was nearby.
Yeah, great game sense here. Pac-Man farming up a Storm, a 20 CS advantage over Naguya. Look at that. Anytime he wants to go in, he's going to take a buttload of damage from that Q, then the Roar of the Slayer to finish it up.
Yeah, but you can see the sustain from the Aurelia is enough to get him through laning phase at the very least. It starts to get a little bit harder as some armor gets bought. But
Impaired gets chunked by Moya here. Naya was just running over, so he has to book it out of that one as fast as he can. Claire going to take a little bit of harass from those Sand Soldiers. The later on in the game it gets, those Sand Soldiers just going to keep getting more and more powerful whilst keeping Moya safe.
Yeah, so they're starting to do a bit more damage. Of course, just lost his blue buff, so that sustain he was able to put down with his damage now starting to drop off by a fair amount. Cassiopeia is still finding herself 13 CS ahead, even though she has a tier in this laning phase. And Impaired looking to put some pressure down, keeping them back a little bit as whoa.
Oh, Moya, he's trying to go in here. He's knocked Claire into the tower. Is it going to be enough? No, Claire just 1v1s him straight up. Impaired was there, not even getting the assist.
Yeah, I don't really know what Moya was attempting to get done right there. Did not have his heal available, nor his flash, and just gets over-aggressive. The cleanse was even there to stop the Sejuani if he overcommitted. Even the ultimate from Claire, still available.
Missing that crucial knock-up Moya did, so unfortunately going to be losing out on that trade. I was just about to say before that kill came down, I have to commend the Legacy laners. Despite being 2 kills down a little bit earlier, they were still in the gold lead. All their laners just doing so well.
Yeah, they are doing very well in farming, and you can see when it doesn't involve Fortnite or their mid laner in particular having 4 kills at this stage in the game is fairly different. So not a bad position all in all, not using the teleport Naguya as he wants to lose his turret.
Yeah, Pac-Man, he cleans that one up for himself very early on in the game, but Sion, we've mentioned how much of a lane bully he is, and we're seeing just that, pushing that wave up. Naguya, he can't just wait around because the range on that Q is proving to be difficult to deal with.
It's just a sustained harass, essentially, that the Sion is able to constantly put down onto the Aurelia. The sustain from Aurelia is high, but it's never going to be high enough to deal with the constant, just slow removal and dismantling of the Aurelia's health bar. The mid lane right now, though, is the big talking point of this game. Claire, the focal point of this Genesis lineup, has found himself a 1v1 kill. Is starting to ramp up with items as that tier has already been well underway for a while now. and the Dragon is started.
Yeah, there's no way that Fornot can contest this. Legacy are going to pick it up very comfortably. Claire just moving his way into the mid lane again. No, he might be going for a little bit of aggression here. We see he might see Zaldo any second, but a pink ward will spot out the remaining members.
Yeah, they've got vision of Zaldo. They know where he is. They still know where he is.
But they realize now that a pink ward did spot them out as they press that down. Impaired, he does have the tremor sense to see any member. Zaldo, he's walking through. Claire, he's taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah,
is he in trouble?
Moya,
he does have the cleanse available. Oh, Moya, he is blinking red. It seemed like Claire was content with just controlling the lane, but after Moya went for that all-in, Claire's just been able to take even more control and run away with it. Oh, a nice block by Addition.
Mostly the fact that the rest of this side of Legacy Genesis actually directly saw the Fortnite opponents. They saw Zelda, they saw Naya being very just visible through the tremor sense, essentially. Allows Claire to do that 1v1 and try and get a free kill. Doesn't find it because the flash came out, but still, it's a free flash for his troubles.
Well, I was about to say CNJ might be in trouble, but luckily Zaldo has transitioned his way down to help him out. He was trying. CNJ was getting very aggressive on Addition, but Addition, we saw him spell shield out that potential stun from the Condemn and then just keep himself safe.
This is what I was talking about, though. The fact that with their direct item buys right now, you can see even a slight advantage in terms of direct finished items from Fortnite has found an advantage in favor of him in a 1v1. Yep. When it comes to the 2v2, not so much. You can control the waves a lot better as Sivir and try and force them not to even have the 1v1 to begin with. But directly in the 1v1, the aggression CNJ is putting down definitely warranted.
Yeah, Claire picking himself up that Archangel stuff. That's going to allow the tier to stack even quicker. We saw Impaired just kind of hang around that bot lane, but the good wards did spot him out. He will just be getting his mid laner Claire that blue buff any minute now.
Yeah, starting to ramp up right now. Claire still found himself with a consistent CS lead, as has top, and bottom has been fairly similar from the start of this game. So now Claire has the blue buff. It unlocks this mid lane a little bit more in terms of direct kill pressure. But Moya has one of his own, so there's going to be a lot of heavy hitting damage in here sometime soon.
Yeah, look at Sion. He's just waiting around in that mid lane. He kind of wanted to use that ultimate to gank onto Moya, but he stayed safe, kept his distance, so just going to go back up to that top lane to continue farming. Moya just doing what he can to finish off the Raptors here. Trying to go for a cheeky steal, but Claire, he is in such control of this mid lane.
Yeah, they just know where everyone is going at all times, and they're choosing their fights, which is the smart part from Genesis right now. They're not just trying to contest literally everything where it might be deemed as a risk. They're contesting what they think is worth, as we've seen.
The ultimate hits Moya. He is going to die with one more Twin Fang, and that's that.
That was very nice from Claire. Working around that vision control, you can see 2 wards exactly where he was standing. And all it takes is a little bit of over-aggression to get some last hits, trying to keep them frozen where the tower doesn't have an impact. And he eats a petrifying gaze in the face.
Yeah, that was a beautiful stun. It looked like it wasn't going to hit, but he turned his character around at the last second, getting that huge stun. The hook narrowly missing as a hero minion dives in front of that one. Look at that, Claire playing so aggressive. Pac-Man going to cancel his teleport, though.
Having every reason to play aggressively, though, as they just are keeping tabs on where Naya is at all times in this game. Finding themselves 1v1s, and this is where the Cassiopeia excels, especially when you have this many kills already. He is in such a comfortable position to be able to try and cement this advantage in lane. You can see the Aurelia only having the Trinity Force. It is a direct dual buff in terms of itemization, but against the Cass.
Looks like they've turned their attention onto Addition, hitting a nice flay, but at no time is Zaldo going to be able to get his hook. Addition, he's done a great job of spell shielding it so far. They do get the pink ward for their troubles and clear out any further wards as we see Naya making his way down to that bot lane.
He's been doing that a lot, really, and he hasn't actually found much from it. He's spent a lot of time sitting in that bottom lane to no avail, as Claire's been spending a lot of time sitting in that bush and has actually found kills from it. Legacy Genesis are, quite frankly, quite far ahead, irrespective of the gold lane.
Yeah, they're doing really well in controlling their lane opponents. We see Addition just, as you mentioned, Sivir, she can push the lane at will, allowing it to push towards her. That way, they aren't able to get ganked as easily.
Yeah, you can see a lot of control. When it comes to minion wave control, they're quite good at this, the Genesis roster. Working around the strengths, and you can see the second Bane became strong enough to potentially 1v1 the Sivir, they started to sit back a little bit more, work around just raw wave clear.
Wow. Zaldo, he just walks into the bouncing blades and the boomerang and takes about a massive chunk of his health just to go for a flay. Doesn't even get it off.
Yeah, it's taking a lot of damage. This bot lane right now is starting to ramp up again. The Sivir hitting that big item spike with the Infinity Edge, but just needs something else to complement that before they consider getting a big fight as Claire in his natural habitat in a bush.
It's looking like how Moya was playing Nidalee from last game, just waiting off in the wings to see if her opponent ever so slightly moves out of position because the all-in potential is there. We see Impaired and Naya butting heads. Not much going to come out of that as Naya just Arctic assaults over the wall. We see a flash from Zaldo.
Yeah, they forced the flash out of the threat. She's taking a lot of damage. The turret's low in the hook.
He gets the hook. Naya, the box goes down. Becky, he's in a lot of trouble. A nice glacial prison onto two members. Becky, is he going to fall? They are going to be running towards the tower. Addition, he's in a bad spot. Naguya had teleported down. Oh, Addition, look who you've met, Vayne. A nice condemn going to be picking himself up that one.
Meeting Vayne and meeting Death also as the Dragon up in 5 seconds could not have been timed better right there for them to find themselves a free objective. But meanwhile, mid lane, trying to even out the pressure is this Sion and the Cass.
Man, Moya is just not doing damage to that massive shield that Sion brings to the table. We see CNJ and Naya just going to be doing that Dragon impaired. He does have a ward down. Does he want to go for a potential steal? It looks like he's not going to get it though. Has to flash out of that one.
Yeah, very nice attempt at a steal. It was well timed, but he didn't actually get what he came for, and that was the Dragon. It goes down to 4-0, and it's now 4-2 in terms of kills in favor of this 4-0 side.
Look at the Thresh, 3-0-0, picked himself up a challenge for Harmony. He wants to get that cleansing effect as soon as he can. Looks like he doesn't want Claire doing work on CNJ.
I mean, when you have 3 out of the team's 4 kills, you probably want to try and keep them alive for as long as possible. There's no way to physically carry as a Thresh.
Look at that. Addition just getting off a beautiful trade. Just completely not Addition, sorry, CNJ just getting a nice trade down onto Addition. The Silver Bolt procs just doing work, and Becky, he can't do anything about it.
No, it wasn't even there. But again, this is the 1v1 of the Vayne. There's no real scenario where you should be leaving your Sivir alone into a 1v1 lane unless you're directly trying to trade with a Vayne. In saying that, we can see the aggression from CNJ starting to pay dividends for him as they're keeping Addition at bay.
I just want to point out that Impaired 0-0-0 hasn't been able to make anything happen with this Rek'Sai. The Sejuani 0-0-3, but they have the same CS. So that early aggression that we see out of most Rek'Sais not coming in here from Impaired.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to find what he's looking for, working more around vision control than directly getting ganks, as he does have a Sightstone. He's been playing to that strength quite nicely since the very beginning of this game, and the fact that Fortnite have just had wards in all the relevant places to deny him from even getting a gank has kind of made it very hard for him. He's been pretty much just situated everywhere there's a ward.
Yeah, Claire, he's finished himself up. That Seraph's Embrace, that's going to be huge for any upcoming team fights where he is the main target. As the highest damage threat on the team, there'll be no surprise if they go for him.
Oh, definitely wouldn't be a surprise if they go for him, just because he does need to die immediately. He's the only one with kills on this side of Legacy Genesis. He's the only one essentially doing this raw amount of unbelievably high damage. The Sivir starting to ramp up though, has the Zeal and the Infinity Edge. Will be able to do a lot in team fights with the Ricochet procs, and the Boomerang just able to chunk people down when there's no minions directly there in the way. In saying that though,
CNJ, he might be in a lot of trouble here. The Death Charge getting cancelled out by the ultimate, but here comes Pac-Man knocking up CNJ. He's going to fall the box, allowing Thresh to get to safety. The Righteous Glory trying to catch up. No Roar of the Slayer available just yet.
No, but they do find a very nice kill as a very super low Becky retreats to the base, having to use that exhaust to stay alive in the end. CNJ super aggro.
Oh, but it's not over yet, as here comes Naya. He has the Glacial Prison available. Zaldo missing the hook, so they're not going to go in. It looked promising when CNJ dodged that activation of the Depth Charge with the stealth. Looks like Impaired and Naguya might be butting heads here.
Yeah, it was looking quite promising, really, in terms of a 1v2 turnaround. But then that third person comes in, Pac-Man, just knocking him up, keeping him at bay, and turning it around. So a very easy kill eventually picks up.
Yeah, look at that. Claire, he is making his way into the enemy jungle, checking to see if that red buff's available. He's got himself a blue. Why not a red? In the bot lane, we see Naya and Zaldo just hanging around Becky. He has come back with a nice full bar of health, picked himself up that upgraded trinket. No face in the mountain just yet, but he's working towards it. Claire, not taking too much damage from those Sand Soldiers.
No, he's got a lot of sustain with the Twin Fangs giving health back also. About 40 every single time. I think it's 36 exactly. So in quite a comfortable position in terms of lane sustain. Can use the Twin Fangs for health and for mana. Getting that natural cooldown reduction from almost being level 16 already.
Wow,
or is that 13? I can't even see.
I guess we'll see when it switches
That's why I wear
back.
glasses.
It would be a surprise to see if he's 15, but I'm not. It wouldn't. My mistake. He wouldn't be surprised. He's 50 CS up. He has 2 kills. His counterpart is 13, but I don't know. The potential is there as he is that far ahead.
Yeah, he's definitely far ahead. So if they can make a team fight around the Cassiopeia, they should be actually quite comfortable in doing so. He has that Seraph Embrace to boot working on what looks like a zone is, and maybe even going top.
Nagoya, he dodged the stun, but it might not be enough as he gets knocked up again and again. That's 3 knocks up in a row. He's so low. He does get the stun on Pac-Man. The Chilling Smite has been used. Impaired. Will the second knockup be available? There's one. Do we see the one from Impaired? There it is, Nagoya. He's going to go down in the meantime, though. Claire, a team fight erupting. Moya, he is going to survive. No, the poison finishes him off. Becky, with the help of Naya, he's going to run away from this one, so a double kill going over to Claire, but it's not done yet. Naya, he's going to have to Arctic Assault over this wall. Impaired, not able to stand in front of it. Pac-Man did teleport down. He's just going to push up that mid lane.
Yes, so Claire actually getting a double kill whilst dead. Takedown, Zelda was already gone, but Moya being very aggressive. They find and engage, but bot lane is just going ham.
Yeah, you mentioned the 1v1 potential out of CNJ, but if this second boomerang comes back and finishes him off, Edition just playing that so well.
The crits and the boomerangs all connecting at the right times as there was nothing CNJ could do. Just completely outplayed himself there with an unfortunate mechanical error.
Yeah, he was looking for that 1v1. Unfortunately, not the one he was looking for, as Edition played that perfectly. He did have to pop the ultimate and the heal. CNJ's wasn't available, so the advantage was always in Edition's favor.
Yeah, Naguya found himself in a bouncing castle. CNJ found himself making mistakes, and Moya's found himself dying to what was already a dead snake. Everything's starting to fall into the favor of this Legacy Genesis team.
Yeah, and look at that. Claire picked himself up that Rabadon's Death Cap and the mana, no, not the mana potion, the ability power potion. So Naya going to have to really prioritize his Glacial Prisons on top of Claire.
Is it still the Elixir of Brilliance?
I do believe it is.
Good. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what it is.
But that's the problem, though.
It is 16, Claire. He was 15.
That's
I just
insane.
wanted to double check
That's
that.
insane. Claire, remember, he has the cleanse. So even if Naya hits the perfect Glacial Prison, it's going to be negated immediately.
Yeah, and even working towards having the full death cap. The Seeker's Arm Guard now completed, so 4 gone. The fact that he could have had his own use instead looking for some raw damage. He is what they need right now, and that is that big reliable damage source. Between himself and Edition on that Sivir, they're a very scary duo.
We didn't even get time to mention the dragon before it was dead. In the top lane, Naguya picking himself up that tower. It looks like he wants to keep the push going. Does have that ultimate available for wave clear. Is going to be using it. But we see Pac-Man just making his way up there to quell any further aggression.
Is that? It's looking like it's going to be a Black Cleaver as well, almost. No, never mind. It's a Hex Drinker.
No, yeah,
Thank you for not going the Black Cleaver.
No, she had the ingredients for it, but opting to go for that Hex Drinker in the end. Claire, being the obvious threat here, wants to be able to survive as long as he can against her.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the Hex Drinker was picked up. The Void Staff right now from Moya. Starting to accelerate his own build. Missing a bit of the raw ability power, but still having the penetration to actually do some serious pain when it comes to direct team fighting. In a very comfortable position to output some hurt. But you have a look at Pac-Man's health bar. We're starting to run out of bars.
Yeah, that's insane. Sion can infinitely stack that health the longer the game goes on with every last hit. And look at that. He's nearly at 4... He's just over 3,000 health, looking to get to 4,000 with Naguya, only about 2.5.
Yeah, it's a very big Sion right now. Scaling up the fact he got a free lane, very comfortable position to be in, to be that hyper tank. Sit in the front line with the Nautilus with the Rek'Sai and just allow the back line of their team to really just erupt. And that is exactly what we're waiting for right now. For not a very good team fighting based team, Legacy Genesis have to pick their fights well, or it could backfire in their face.
Yeah, we saw Pac-Man. He's able to... Oh, look at that. Moya, he just dies without a second glance. Claire getting off the first glance, actually. They're looking towards this Baron, with Claire being so fed at the moment. But Impaired, he wants to go for Zaldo, who is the highest kill participation on the side of Fortnite.
He has 3 kills, man. They've got 5 kills and he has 3 of them. There's no way. That's actually the biggest mistake.
He's getting damaged by that poison from the Grom, though, and look at this, Pac-Man, he's barely even getting hurt from the Baron. It's about 2k health. The Glacial Prison hits about 4 members. Naguya, he's in the middle of the fight in the background. Naya, he wants to try and get this Baron while no one's watching, but Impaired's watching. The Smite War is there, but, oh, Impaired, he picks it up for himself. Meanwhile, on the back foot, Claire just gets a double kill. He's looking for a triple on Naguya. There's no escape for this Sejuani. She's trying to get out. Oh, but Impaired picks it up.
So they find themselves the Baron off another pick onto Moya. They translate that into so many kills, all 4 members going down besides the one who was already dead and now walking towards the mid lane at Moya. And they just get exactly what they were looking for. They picked their fight well, as mentioned. They turn it into a very big, sizable advantage. And you can see, even with the great Sejuani ultimate, a Smite Wall that ensues in the top lane, and then the fact that they are able to just cement a very easy victory on this team fight. Addition, the focus though from Vayne. Claire is able to just sit there and just kill them all. He's just doing an abundance of damage and no one touched him because they were going for everyone else from this Genesis team. Yeah, that's such a blunder. We've seen how much Claire can do. Now that he has picked himself up that zone use Hourglass, even if they go for him, he's just going to be able to zone use any forthcoming damage. Pac-Man, so tanky, finished his 3 core items. Any item now is just overkill. Yeah, so he basically only had like a Seekers before that fight even erupted. Now has a Zonia's and a Blasting one working towards either a Void Staff or an Abyssal Scepter, depending on what route he would like to go. Some magic resistance starting to get built from this Fornot side, and realistically, I just don't see how they have an answer right now when most of their kills are on their support. That's exactly right. 3-2 for Zaldo right now. They really need to get a nice Emperor's Divide where Vayne can just sit. But Addition, he remembers a 1v1 last time, but it's not a 1v1 as he does have his support, Becky, to help him out. CNJ trying his best to survive that. In the meantime, Naya, he's found Claire. The cleanse going to be used, the poison ticking, but Impaired picks it up. Yeah, they get the kill again. They find 2 picks separately at the exact same time onto important members of this Fortnite lineup. They're missing their AD carry, they're missing their engage from their jungler, and they've got Baron minions barreling down the bottom lane towards their inhibitor turrets. Yeah, they're looking for this inhibitor. They have all 5 members available. Vayne still 10 seconds off the tower, focusing the ADC here, but they're going to try their best to get it down, and they will. The inhibitor, the next point of focus, but it looks like it might be Zaldo as Impaired. Is he going to get the knock up? He does. A nice Emperor's Divide in the Crucible to keep himself alive. Thankfully, he has enough money to get himself a Crucible and save his own life with that one. Gets out quite alright, but they lose an inhibitor for that. He doesn't get out, actually, he dies. Wow. That was the poison, I think? It must have been, because there is no Ignite on the side of Legacy Genesis. Yeah, so I'm guessing that last tick, I actually thought it missed, but then it did connect. It takes him down after the Crucible connected. Yeah, Claire, he is so strong at the moment. Just, like, he was on about 400 health, and if the poison tick did about that much, he is one scary snake. The dragon spawning in about 45 seconds. It's going to be very important for Fortnite to kind of regroup, channel that inner team fight focus that they've been doing so well. Get Moya, those Sand Soldiers, in a nice chokehold and prevent Legacy from just running away with this game. Well, you can see the vision that they've got in the bottom half of the map right now, Legacy Genesis. The complete control is in their favor from the Dragon to the Inhibitor. They have wards everywhere. With Dragon up in 20 seconds, there's just no way for them to get to the Dragon without walking through vision. They're going to be spotted here, Fortnite, and realistically, Legacy Genesis not even needing the Dragon to finish this game. They are just so far ahead if you were to compare every individual lane that it's just going to become super difficult for Fortnite to find an opening. Yeah, look at that. Cassiopeia, 4,000 gold ahead of Moya. That's a tier 3 item and then some. Moya, he's really feeling the pain this game. He picked a Z into this matchup and it's just not working out for him as Legacy Genesis start their 3rd Dragon. Yeah, so the 3rd Dragon going to give a bit of extra move speed for this Genesis team, as this was essentially all they really will be looking for to try and just close out the rest of the game. They are the team who are now in the commanding spot. It's their game to lose from here, but can they actually close it out against Fortnite, who we do know have a track record of being just the best team fighting team ever? Yeah, with that bottom inhibitor down and no Baron on the map, Fortnite can take a sigh of relief that objective won't be up for contention just yet. We see Pac-Man in the top pushing out as he does. He is going to be getting himself
a magic resistance item now. Not sure which one he'll go for. He does have the Mercury Treads to start it off, though.
Yeah, so they're starting to get magic resistance, and Claire's
Azir
still
hurts.
taking damage. Yeah, you can see a death cap completed from Moya. Only had the void stuff before that last fight where he went down. So ramped up in damage by a sizable margin. It is going to help him by a fair bit.
Yeah,
but I mean, the bottom lane is still pushing. Aurelia needs to address it.
Yeah, Aurelia not that great at dealing with large waves without using her ultimate. She needs that for the team fights. The Sun Disc buying them some time, but is it enough? And we have 5 members of Legacy Genesis just taking point in this mid lane.
Yeah, you can see their side wave control, though. The top wave starting to amass.
Pac-Man, you see them engage on him, and he barely even feels it. Not a scratch as he just walks back to that top lane.
Maybe a tiny scratch.
Well, he does have the flask, going to be healing him up before he even gets there.
Yeah, it's true. But again, the top wave is building. The middle lane is just where the pressure has been kept, and the bottom lane is the super minions constantly going to be pushing that one out. Naguya trying to reset it a little bit so that they buy themselves some time, but you can see Impaired sitting in that top lane.
Yeah, I like that, sending Rek'Sai to the top. She does have that ultimate to get back in the fight when they need, but Addition getting a nice boomerang blade, 2 procs onto Naya, taking him down not too low, but low considering he's a tank.
Yeah, you can see that it's actually doing a sizable amount of damage to him.
No last whisper either.
Yeah, no, went straight for the Bloodthirster, a little bit of extra sustain. Got him through the other 1v1s quite nicely against the Vayne too.
He wants to make a play here. He's waiting over that wings to see if anything happens. The Flash Cryptic Gaze is available. Potential, but Impaired, he is going to lose this 1v1 against CNJ, but CNJ doesn't have backup. Sorry, Pac-Man is coming up. He doesn't want any of it either.
He just can't. He can't find a 1v1. Impaired actually losing that 1v1, putting himself in a bad position. The rest of the team unable to capitalize on his mistake and actually get anything from it. They've completely slowed down the game. The gold lead is starting to close now because of that, in favor of Legacy still, but it's 1k less now from Fauna.
So yeah, Legacy not being able to find any pressure considering that downed inhibitor as we see the Aurelia Blade just whirling around. The Baron up in about 5 seconds. That inhibitor should be respawning. Maybe not in time, but close. We see CNJ, he wants to take another 1v1. Backup is on the way, but he started. Pac-Man is just going to ultimate out of there.
Yeah.
See ya.
There's no way to kill the Sign without hitting a Condemn, but you can't hit a Condemn when he is ulting. So the Baron now going to be the focus.
Look, she's ulted. Claire has ulted. He does cleanse out that Glacial Prison. Naya, he's on the run. Nothing more just yet to chase him up. Becky is huge with that Elixir of Fortitude. Hopefully, he's going to be running point guard here as the Baron has been started by the AD carry and top lane.
You don't want your big man running point guard, mate. You want him running center.
My mistake. Looks like Addition, Impaired, and Pac-Man just going to get this one down. CNJ, he has been finding the 1v1s, not going to find one here as Becky, he's trying to go in. Naya was pulled, all the moves used.
Moya.
Oh, Moya, there's no way to escape this. He's getting
his.
He just flashes over the wall. The knock-up still connects, but doing a nice job at escaping that.
Yeah, he's done very well to get himself to safety as the depth charge chased him for a long distance, but not close enough to actually allow the rest of the team. The cleanse used by Claire kind of makes it a little bit harder for them to overcommit to anything when there is a Sejuani. And they've got the Baron now, so they can at the very least go for this middle turret. But anything past here, it seems like Fortnite want to defend desperately.
Well, the inhibitor is still open and available to take, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Legacy moving over there as they are now. They have not a wave, but they don't need one as there is no tower to defend.
The minions are close enough that they're going to have a wave irrespective. The top lane, though,
wow.
Oh
Look
my
at
god.
That. Is she gonna? I thought she was gonna die. Maybe one more tick of that poison would have done it. Did I say they didn't have a tower? I lied because the Sun Disc is doing what it can. Impaired and Pac-Man, such a massive front line. Becky, he does get hooked. We hear Thresh doing his Nautilus only taunt, but nothing going to come from it as the inhibitor falls.
Yeah, they get the free inhibitor. There's just no way for them to stop it. Naya trying to push the minions away before they can get there to use them to push in. The Baron buff not taking a hold. That is the biggest stack of red dots I have ever seen in my life in that top lane right now. It is going to become overwhelmingly large, and if they let that go to a turret, it will not hesitate to take it down.
Yeah, it looks like Genesee just going to be
massive.
Looks like they will have Addition picking that one up. Let's see, he's on
so many red
he's on
dots.
343 now. We'll see how many were actually there as he picks up that entire wave. The bouncing blade nearly killing all of them in one hit if the crits are real.
That was 3 cannons.
That was beautiful.
That's satisfying. What that is. Oh, the minions.
I think my favorite is when Twisted Fate kills a whole wave with Wildcard.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful to watch. And every time he kills one, that little extra gold pops up above his head, so you just feel extra special.
Yeah, definitely. It's like old Ash feelings. But again, let's just take a little bit of a break and look at what they're doing right now, Legacy Genesis. They haven't really found their way to break anywhere other than that bottom inhibitor. They did get it again, though, and it always unlocks the Baron potential, which is why they've so easily taken 2 Barons in a row. The Dragon that they're about to grab is going to be their 4th, and they're now in much more of a commanding position to try and close out the game. They're probably just going to work around that 5th Dragon if they can't get into the base anytime soon, though.
Yeah, the pushing power that comes from the 4th Dragon is huge. They have the Baron buff as well. Not too long left on it just yet, but we see in the top lane, Pac-Man and C&J just going at odds, but one roar of the Slayer and C&J has to back off.
C&J's actually got the Mercurial Scimitar, he's got the Last Whisper there, so in terms of a 1v1, this is why he is split pushing, trying to take on Pac-Man and control the top wave, but the rest of Legacy Genesis have made their way up, and that is what forces him to back off.
Yeah, this is smart, pushing the top lane while that bottom inhibitor's down. That's the most distance they can get between. C&J just trying to get the damage on those minions so that they can't get too far up. Pac-Man just giving a roar of the Slayer on the back end of that one as they're going to be recalling once again.
So they're looking to catch them in transit, essentially, between lanes, between inhibitors and turrets, just to get maybe a Petrifying Gazok, maybe a Rek'Sai knock-up or a Sivir ultimate to press that big go button and catch someone out of position, but they just haven't found it, as Fortnite are just sticking inside their base, doing their best CLG EU impersonation, trying to take the game to 60 minutes, but with that new added win condition since CLG EU ever existed of the 5th Dragon, it makes it a lot harder for them. There's not just exclusively Baron. Baron makes it hard enough to defend inhibitor turrets, let alone a double your damage buff.
Well, Moya, he's been sitting on those 3 items for quite a while, and he's been farming for about the last 5 minutes, so he should be able to get himself a nice 4th item here. We see him recalling now. What do you think he's going to go for, Rusty?
Well, I'll let you know if I know how much money he has, but I'd say Azonia's would be the next plan of attack. Maybe an Abyssal Scepter, but a little bit of a flight risk. He definitely needs magic resistance, though.
Yeah, he sold that Doran's ring, so he is just waiting around for that extra bit of gold. He must be so close. He's going to have to buy it soon. He just gets a needlessly large rod.
Yep, so going for the Zonia's Hourglass, it's the trade-off between if you want the active utility, if you want to go for the Abyssal Scepter and actually get some effective resistances. Oh, the hook.
Oh, Zaldo, he's in trouble. He's going to have to flash over that one. But look at Claire, gets taken extremely low. Has to Zonia's just to stay alive. He does get a kill in the meanwhile, but Nagoya, he's just going to be bounced up and up and up as Moya hitting 4 Sand Soldiers at the moment. Addition, so low, but Naya trying to get in there. Pac-Man, he gets stunned out of his knockup. Claire in the back, he's doing good damage to Moya as that poison just continues to tick.
It's ticking, but they're not really doing enough to get into the base. Again, Fortnite able to push them back. C&J and Moya still alive, and all of the carries of this Legacy Genesis side are super low. Claire no health. Addition only just getting some health back now from last hitting that top wave. He did get a turret though for his troubles. Yeah,
that breaks the base in the top lane. Now they have 2 inhibitors available for the taking. Right now, Fortnite, their best bet is to stand behind these inhibitor waves, but look at this. We see an empowered minion Vayne. Doesn't do magic damage, she's going to have no trouble taking that one out.
Yeah, Banner of Command on the Scion right now, essentially making it a little bit harder. They know they're working around the Baron control. A Baron Super Minion or a Baron Banner of Commanded Cannon Wave is just unbelievably massive and good at taking down turrets. Could be able to put it in the side lane, work around the fact inhibitors are down, and just give some more threat across the map. It's a smart item buy. There's no direct counter in terms of who it is good against, but in saying that, it's just really difficult. Now they've at the very least Addition took down that top turret, they've got another avenue to attack after the Baron spawns.
Yeah, Addition's picked himself up that quick silver sash, so 3 cleansers coming out from Legacy here. It's going to be hard for them. It's going to be hard for Fortnite to find their targets and pin them down.
Definitely, it's going to be quite difficult for them to pin them down. Sejuani, the only real initiation tool besides a thresh hook here and there, if it does connect. But Fortnite, they do still need to get the engage. Naya's about to... Oh.
Imped, he's looking for it. He's going on to C&J. He's way too far up. Luckily, flashes a knockup, and here comes Scion. He's picked his target. He wants to go for C&J, but Naya in the backline getting destroyed before he can make an impact. Naguya, he has been hooked. Becky trying to do what he can to keep Kara alive. Does she have... Oh, he gets off the beautiful zone use to keep himself alive. Vayne falls. Nagaya definitely going to follow after Moya. He's in a world of hurt. Uses the Empress to buy, but it doesn't stop skill shots as a triple kill for Addition as he falls down. Zaldo, the main carry of Fortnite, going to fall here. And they're pushing up the mid lane.
So they've got the second inhibitor able to go down. They should have enough time to be able to potentially get the game to go in their favor. I mean, it's 40 seconds. It's a bit of a risk. They're going to be able to get all 3 inhibitors at the very least, but they may be able to translate this into something further. A big team fight there, though. Claire getting super low. He was the point of focus, but you have to give a lot of credit to Addition in that respect. The way that he commanded the team fight and put down all of the damage onto the important targets. They can end.
Yeah, look at him, Ped. He's just tanking up. He is so strong. We see the empowered minion not doing anything, just clearing out the minions. But all the members, 4 members of Legacy Genesis are going to be there. They are going to take this third map, and they are going to go to the grand finals.
Yes, they've found themselves the victory 2-1, so congratulations to Legacy Genesis for that victory. It took them a while, but they did get there in the end.
Yeah, that Cassiopeia was basically the winning point of that game. They went all in on her. She must have dropped to sub 100 health, but with that Archangel Staff, the Seraph's Embrace, and the Zone Use Hourglass was able to stay alive through the myriad of damage sources.
Yeah, very barely staying alive. And of course, at the same time, the front line doing a lot of work, the Civ are doing a lot of damage. So congratulations again, they've made it to the finals.
Yeah, no worries. But looking at that team, we saw no Nidalee for either team. She was such a high point of contention, getting banned out. But the Azir, they picked that knowingly into Cassiopeia, but didn't really do anything with it.
It was the fact that Claire had vision control. Again, it's something that I've touched on multiple times around this Legacy Genesis team, is the fact that they've got vision everywhere that they could ever imagine on the map. We saw they went from the Dragon to the bottom inhibitor, and there was just this trail of wards like breadcrumbs littered across the minimap, revealing areas where if they have to retreat, they'll know Fortnite are not willing or able to go in there because they don't have the control. They work around this from the beginning of the game. Claire finding solo kills essentially onto his lane opponent, snowballing the rest of the game, whereas Fortnite solo kills were onto a Thresh.
Yeah, that was kind of a bit of a misstep here and there as Thresh did pick up the early kill onto Sion, then another one in lane. They really should have gone onto CNJ because we saw his dueling potential very late in that game, as we are going to bring up the ladder now to just view the results after that game.
Yes, the Legacy Genesis taking the victory over Fortnite, as yesterday the Krispy Kreme crew themselves did find a victory, and now we've got the final set, Genesis against the Krispy Kreme crew.
Yeah, look at that. And the third place game, which will be taking place on the Monday between Fortnite and Alter Ego.
Yeah, the winners of that will still have their shot at the promotion relegation tournament, so it's still a very important game to get that third place. But both members, Legacy and the Krispy Kreme crew, are now fighting for seeding.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see which of those two very strong teams can come out ahead.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a very interesting best of 3, and I'm looking forward to that coming up next week.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's all we have time for. Make sure to check back in on Monday for more League of Legends actions from myself, Rusty, and the entire production crew. Thanks for watching.